The drama begins by showing a girl named Ok Chan-mi on a video call with her twin brother, Won-sok, who is currently at Yongtan High School. Chan-mi and Won-sok are orphans who have lost their parents since they were young. After their parents died, Chan-mi and Won-sok lived in an orphanage, until Won-sok was adopted by a wealthy family and had to part with his twin sister because his adoptive family refused to adopt Chan-mi. While Won-sok had a new family who loved him and was moving to Seoul, Chan-mi had to accept the fact that she would have to stay in the orphanage in Busan, even until she grew up because no family was interested in adopting her. While on a video call, Chan-mi and Won-sok plan to meet in the near future, as Chan-mi misses her twin brother. In the middle of their conversation, someone suddenly approaches Won-sok. Won-sok then asks Chan-mi to wait a moment while he talks to the person. But unexpectedly, the person who approached Won-sok suddenly pushed Won-sok, who was sitting by the window, which caused Won-sok to fall from the top floor and died on the spot. At the same time, Chan-mi, who was elsewhere, was completely unaware of what had just happened, as someone suddenly ended the video call and turned off Won-sok's cell phone. On the other hand, a person wearing a black hooded sweater and white shoes with red laces was seen hurrying down the stairs at Won-sok's school, and from his suspicious behavior, that person seemed to be the one who had approached Won-sok and deliberately pushed him out the window and killed him. A few days later, Chan-mi, who is one of the best shooters in the school, is seen participating in a national shooting competition. With her outstanding shooting skill, Chan-mi was actually able to win first place in the competition. However, because lately Chan-mi has been thinking about Won-sok, she loses focus during the competition, so she only manages to come third. Elsewhere, a young man named Ji Soo-hoon is wearing white shoes with red laces, exactly like the ones used by the person who pushed Won-sok. That night, Soo-hoon, who works part-time as a janitor at a bowling alley, asks his boss, Mr. Yeon, for permission to leave early because he has to visit his mother at the nursing home. Since Soo-hoon had been working hard and diligently, his boss gave Soo-hoon permission to leave early. After that, Soo-hoon rode his motorcycle to the nursing home to visit his mother. Arriving at the nursing home, an administrative officer told Soo-hoon that he had been delinquent in paying his mother's care fees for 3 months and urged him to pay up immediately. Upon hearing that, Soo-hoon told her that he would make the payment soon. Shortly after, Soo-hoon finally met his mother, who was paralyzed due to her illness. Soo-hoon took his mother for a walk in the nursing home grounds while pushing his mother's wheelchair. Although Soo-hoon had to work hard to pay for his mother's care, he never complained about anything to his mother because Soo-hoon didn't want to make his mother anxious, which might worsen her health condition. On his way home after visiting his mother, Soo-hoon suddenly felt pain in his head and his vision began to blur. While stopped at a red light, Soo-hoon suddenly lost consciousness, so people who saw the incident immediately took him to the hospital so that he could receive immediate medical treatment. After undergoing treatment for one night, a doctor named In-seon then told Soo-hoon that Soo-hoon was discharged from the hospital. However, In-seon asked Soo-hoon to come meet him and his parents to talk about Soo-hoon's medical condition. Upon hearing that, Soo-hoon tells the doctor that his father has passed away, while his mother is currently undergoing treatment at a nursing home, making it impossible for her to accompany Soo-hoon to the hospital to see the doctor. In-seon tells Soo-hoon to ask one of his teachers to accompany him when In-seon explains Soo-hoon's medical condition. Elsewhere, Chan-mi tells a caretaker at the orphanage named Ji-won that she's going to Seoul to see Won-sok. After traveling for several hours, Chan-mi finally arrives in Seoul and intends to meet her twin brother who attends Yongtan High School. Chan-mi, who was waiting in front of the school gate, approached 2 male students who were just about to leave the school. When Chan-mi asked about Won-sok, the 2 male students were shocked and told Chan-mi that Won-sok had died by taking his own life. Chan-mi was so shocked to hear the news of Won-sok's death that her body felt weak as her heart broke into a million pieces, knowing that the only family she had left her forever. In the meantime, Won-sok's parents, who are devastated by their son's death, are seen at the columbarium storing Won-sok's cremated ashes. Soon after, Chan-mi finally arrives at the columbarium and is shocked to find that Won-sok is actually dead. Chan-mi, still mourning the death of her twin brother, goes to Won-sok's adoptive parents to inquire about the chronology of Won-sok's death. However, Chan-mi is surprised to find out that Won-sok's parents are actually questioning Won-sok's death because in their opinion, taking his own life is a very shameful act. Won-sok's mother even says that Won-sok has tarnished their family's reputation due to his death. On the other hand, Chan-mi is actually convinced that Won-sok didn't take his own life, since before the incident happened, they had talked on the phone and Won-sok didn't look like that kind of person. Since Chan-mi is convinced that Won-sok might have been killed by someone, she begs his mother to hand over Won-sok's cell phone to her. But unexpectedly, his mother tells Chan-mi that the police didn't find Won-sok's cell phone at the crime scene, and she can't find his cell phone anywhere either. Chan-mi, who wants to investigate her twin brother's death, goes to the police station and meets 2 policemen named So-jong and Jong-guk who are handling Won-sok's death case, which is ruled as an act of taking his own life. Chan-mi then reveals to the 2 cops that she is Won-sok's twin sister who lives in an orphanage in Busan. Chan-mi tells them that Won-sok, formerly Ok Chan-kyu, was adopted by the Park family from Seoul when he was 8 years old, while Chan-mi remained in the orphanage because no family was willing to adopt her. After explaining herself, Chan-mi then told the police that she had contacted Won-sok on the day of his death. While they were talking on a video call, Chan-mi revealed that someone had come to see Won-sok, so she was sure that Won-sok had been killed by someone. Chan-mi then asks the police to find Won-sok's cell phone, as it might contain clues about the person who might be connected to Won-sok's death. Although Chan-mi's story sounds very convincing, So Jong and the rest of the police have ruled Won-sok's death as an act of taking his own life and closed the case. Upon learning that, Chan-mi is furious, as the cops dismiss her as far-fetched and refuse to investigate further. Irritated that the police chose to close Won-sok's death case, Chan-mi decides to move to Seoul and enrolls at Yongtan High School to investigate the death of her twin brother. Elsewhere, Soo-hoon is seen doing boxing training at a boxing stadium, where he seems to lose control and beats his opponent so vigorously that it almost kills him. Upon seeing that, the people at the venue immediately stopped Soo-hoon and took him out of the fighting arena. Soo-hoon, who realized that he had lost control, apologized to his opponent for hurting him. Shortly afterward, Dok-jun, who is the owner of the boxing stadium as well as Soo-hoon's coach, approached Soo-hoon and persuaded him to become a professional boxer. Dok-jun even confidently said that he would make Soo-hoon a great boxer so that Soo-hoon could earn a lot of money. However, Soo-hoon rejects the offer, telling Dok-jun that right now he just wants to focus on his studies. After finishing his training, Soo-hoon checks his cell phone and finds that his motorcycle, which was stolen when he suddenly fainted in the middle of the road, has been sold online on a marketplace site specialized in second-hand goods. Determined to get his motorcycle back, Soo-hoon borrows Dok-jun's motorcycle and rushes to the location where the seller will meet with the potential buyer who interested in buying Soo-hoon's motorcycle. On the other hand, Chan-mi is seen meeting two men and is about to make a purchase transaction for a motorcycle. Surprisingly, the motorcycle that Chan-mi wanted to buy was Soo-hoon's motorcycle that was stolen a few days ago. After completing the transaction and handing over the motorcycle key, the two men leave, leaving Chan-mi to call someone to inquire about the room she'll be staying in during her stay in Seoul. At the same time, Soo-hoon finally arrives at the place and thinks that Chan-mi is the motorcycle thief. Although Soo-hoon proves that the motorcycle is his, Chan-mi adamantly says that she bought the motorcycle from two men and had no knowledge of the theft. They then got into an argument because Chan-mi refused to hand over the motorcycle to Soo-hoon, especially since she had spent a lot of money to get the motorcycle. In the middle of their argument, someone suddenly shouted for Soo-hoon to move the motorcycle that was parked by him in the middle of the road. When Soo-hoon went to move the motorcycle, Chan-mi took the opportunity to escape from Soo-hoon by riding the motorcycle she had bought. Afterward, Chan-mi heads to an apartment building and intends to rent a room by faking her identity. Chan-mi tells the landlord that she's a college student who just moved from Busan so she can rent a room. Instead, Chan-mi accidentally reveals her identity as a high school student to the landlord, who eventually allows Chan-mi to stay in the place. Meanwhile, the two men who sold Soo-hoon's motorcycle to Chan-mi secretly implanted a tracking device in the motorcycle so that they could steal it again and sell it for more money. But unexpectedly, when they were about to steal the motorcycle, Soo-hoon suddenly appeared on the spot and immediately stopped the theft. They then got into a fierce fight, until one of them tried to knock Soo-hoon down by hitting his head. However, Soo-hoon was still able to fight them off, so they chose to run away. When Soo-hoon felt the pain in his head from the blunt force, he was caught off guard and almost got hit by a truck while trying to cross the road. Luckily, Chan-mi, who saw this, rushed to save Soo-hoon and gave him water to wipe his face. Chan-mi then asked Soo-hoon to stop arguing about his motorcycle because she saved Soo-hoon's life. Although Soo-hoon was annoyed that he failed to get his motorcycle back, he couldn't blame Chan-mi for not knowing about the theft. The next day, when Chan-mi was about to leave for school on her motorcycle, she suddenly lost control when she was surprised to see Soo-hoon suddenly appear at an intersection. Because of her shock, Chan-mi had a hard time riding her motorcycle and ended up crashing into a trash can. Since Chan-mi's uniform became dirty and smelly as a result of the incident, Soo-hoon helped Chan-mi to clean her uniform. Despite Chan-mi's efforts to remove the stains, her uniform was still dirty and smelly, so Soo-hoon lent his uniform to Chan-mi since they were attending the same high school. Upon arriving at Yongtan High School, Chan-mi asked two female students in front of the school about the location of the shooting range. Seeing Chan-mi wearing Soo-hoon's uniform, the two girls thought that Chan-mi had a close relationship with Soo-hoon, so they told a student named Kook Ji-yeon, one of Soo-hoon's classmates who had romantic feelings for Soo-hoon. Upon hearing that, Ji-yeon wondered about the relationship between Soo-hoon and Chan-mi, as they seemed to be so close that Chan-mi confidently wore Soo-hoon's uniform to school. Shortly afterward, Chan-mi was escorted by a teacher named Ja-taek to her classroom, where she was placed in the same class as Soo-hoon and Ji-yeon. After introducing herself, Chan-mi was asked by her teacher to occupy an empty seat in the class. Before starting the lesson, Ja-taek, who realized that Soo-hoon wasn't wearing his uniform, scolded him and intended to punish Soo-hoon. Upon learning that, Chanmi returned Soo-hoon's uniform in front of their classmates, causing them to misunderstand and think that Chanmi and Soo-hoon had a close relationship because Chanmi was wearing Soo-hoon's uniform. On the other hand, Soo-hoon was both embarrassed and annoyed that Chanmi had blatantly returned his uniform in front of the teacher and their classmates. When the male students cheered Soo-hoon for thinking that he was dating Chanmi, who was a transfer student, Ji-hyun looked very annoyed because she felt jealous of Chanmi. Meanwhile, a male student named Sok Jae-bom was seen coming to Yongtan High School accompanied by his mother and his best friend, Gyo-seon. Some time ago, Jae-bom had an accident that resulted in Jae-bom losing his memory, so the doctor suggested that Jae-bom repeat his last year of high school so that he could recover his memory again. As his good friend, Oh-sung tells Jae-bom that he's ready to do his best to help Jae-bom at school so that he can regain all his memories. At school, Jae-bom gets placed in the same class as Gi-sung, where he meets a female student named T So-yeon who stares at him intensely. During break time, Chanmi is approached by a female student named Da-yeon who is a member of the shooting club, just like Chanmi. Knowing that Won-sok used to be a member of the shooting club at Yongtan High School, Chanmi tries to ask Da-yeon about her twin brother. However, Da-yeon doesn't really know Won-sok and tells Chanmi to ask about Won-sok to Hong Ah-jong, who is Won-sok's girlfriend. Da-yeon, who is Ah-jong's classmate, tells Chanmi that Ah-jong has been missing a lot of school lately and thinks that Ah-jong might still be devastated by Won-sok's death. Upon hearing that, Chanmi asks Da-yeon for Ah-jong's phone number. Chanmi immediately calls Ah-jong after getting her phone number from Da-yeon. However, Chanmi was surprised to find out that the person who answered Ah-jong's phone was Soo-hoon. Out of curiosity, Chanmi secretly followed Soo-hoon, who was allowed to leave early that day because he had to go to the hospital. When Chanmi, who was hiding behind a vending machine, was almost discovered by Soo-hoon, the doctor suddenly appeared and immediately called Soo-hoon. Since Soo-hoon doesn't have a guardian to accompany him at the hospital, In-seon finally reveals to Soo-hoon that he has a brain tumor. Soo-hoon looks very shocked to hear that, especially when the doctor tells Soo-hoon that they cannot perform surgery because it is very risky and can endanger Soo-hoon's life. In-seon tells Soo-hoon that they can't do anything for now, other than hoping that the tumor doesn't grow any bigger. Furthermore, In-seon reveals that Soo-hoon might only survive for the next 1 year. On the other hand, Chanmi also looks shocked as she overheard their conversation. After learning about his brain tumor and the possibility that he would only survive for the next year, Soo-hoon could only lament his fate and chose not to go to school for days. A few days later, Chanmi is seen entering the science room where Won-sok allegedly taking his own life. Chanmi reimagines her last conversation with her twin brother before he died. While Chanmi was reminiscing about Won-sok, she was suddenly startled by the appearance of Soo-hoon, who asked about the reason why Chanmi was in that place. When Chanmi asks Soo-hoon the same question, he tells her about his classmate who took his own life in the room. Soo-hoon revealed that he saw Won-sok jump from the window, so he immediately called the police to report the incident. Chanmi is shocked to hear Soo-hoon's statement, as she's pretty sure that someone approached Won-sok while they were chatting on the phone, right on the day of Won-sok's death. Afterward, Soo-hoon takes Chanmi to see a stray cat named Lunch that Soo-hoon has been feeding. Because Soo-hoon cares so much about Lunch, he asks Chanmi to feed Lunch if he doesn't go to school. Chanmi then asks Soo-hoon about Won-sok's death since Soo-hoon was the first person to find Won-sok's body. Soo-hoon tells Chanmi that he was feeding Lunch next to the building when he heard something heavy fall, and when Soo-hoon went to check, he found Won-sok lying in the schoolyard with his head bleeding, so he immediately called the police. After that, Chanmi, who is eating lunch in the cafeteria with Da-yeon, is surprised by a female student named Soon-ha who looks scared when she meets Jung-gyeong, who is a bully in the school. The frightened Soon-ha then left the place in a hurry, while Jung-gyeong snapped at the students who looked at him sarcastically. Da-yeon then tells Chanmi that Jung-gyeong was once expelled from school for sexually assaulting Soon-ha. However, Jung-gyeong somehow managed to get back into their school, which suddenly makes Soon-ha terror-haunted because Jung-gyeong might harass her again. Chanmi overhears this and gets annoyed, saying that Jung-gyeong should be punished for his crimes. But Da-yeon tells her that the police don't have enough evidence to put Jung-gyeong in jail, so Jung-gyeong is still free to roam until now. Afterward, Chanmi, who was about to meet Da-yeon in her class, accidentally bumped into Jung-gyeong, who was Da-yeon's classmate. Knowing that Jung-gyeong and his friends are delinquent students, Chanmi tried to avoid them. However, Chanmi soon became annoyed when Jung-gyeong mentioned Won-sok, where Jung-gyeong told his friends that he wished Won-sok was still alive so he could bully Won-sok to his heart's content. Chanmi then got into an argument with Jung-gyeong and his friends, where Jung-gyeong intended to slap Chanmi, who had dared to fight him. At the same time, Jae-bom, who saw their feud, then tried to stop Jung-gyeong and his friends who were about to hurt Chanmi. But Jung-gyeong ignored Jae-bom and intended to assault him. Luckily, Oh-sung arrived in time to stop the feud while warning Jung-gyeong about his agreement with the principal. Upon hearing that, Jung-gyeong stopped his action and chose to leave his classroom. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon, who was in the hospital, got advice from his doctor to take some drugs to reduce the pain in his head and also to suppress the growth of the tumor in his brain. On that occasion, In-seon explained to Soo-hoon about the behavioral changes that Soo-hoon might experience because the disease would more or less affect the nervous system in his brain. Elsewhere, Chan-mi, who is practicing shooting, is approached by her coach who asks her to train Jae-bom because Jae-bom used to be a member of the shooting club at their school and shooting activities might help Jae-bom regain his memory. Chan-mi agrees to her coach's request and starts training Jae-bom that day. Chan-mi scolds Jae-bom for making frequent mistakes as if he's a beginner. But then, Oh-sung shows up at the place and asks Chan-mi to train Jae-bom patiently. Oh-sung tells Chan-mi that some time ago, Jae-bom had an accident that left him in a coma for 6 months and also lost all his memories. After learning about Jae-bom's medical condition, Chan-mi feels a little guilty and promises that she'll be gentler with Jae-bom. Later that evening, So-yeon and Ah-jung meet Soo-hoon while he's doing his job at the bowling alley. After finally meeting Ah-jung, Soo-hoon immediately returns Ah-jung's cell phone that was deliberately given to him to trick her manager. Checking her cell phone, Ah-jung finds a message from Chan-mi inviting her to meet her because Chan-mi wants to ask her some questions about Won-seok. Ah-jung also tells her friends about the message sent by Chan-mi, and Soo-hoon seems to remember the moment when he met Chan-mi at the place where Won-seok took his own life, and Chan-mi also asked about Won-seok. Soo-hoon, who was still curious, then met Chan-mi and asked about her relationship with Won-seok. Chan-mi, who wants to keep it a secret that Won-seok is her twin brother, tells Soo-hoon that she knows Won-seok through the shooting club. Chan-mi then asks about Soo-hoon holding Ah-jung's cell phone, but Soo-hoon refuses to answer the question because it has nothing to do with Won-seok. Chan-mi chooses not to ask further and asks Soo-hoon to tell Ah-jung if she wants to see her to ask something important. The next day, while in class, Soo-hoon suddenly gets a headache and feels nauseous, so he rushes to the restroom. Chan-mi, who was worried about Soo-hoon because she knew about his illness, hurried to follow Soo-hoon to the restroom to confirm his condition. Upon arriving at the restroom, Chan-mi panicked when she saw a pool of blood on the floor coming out of one of the toilet cubicles. When Chan-mi tried banging on the toilet cubicle door while calling Soo-hoon's name, Soo-hoon surprisingly came out of the other cubicle and was shocked to find blood on the floor. When Soo-hoon and Chan-mi peeked into the toilet cubicle, they were shocked to find Soon-ha trying to end her life by slashing her wrist. Chan-mi immediately called the police and an ambulance, while Soo-hoon tried to close the wound on her wrist to stop Soon-ha's bleeding. Shortly afterward, an ambulance arrived and immediately took Soon-ha to the hospital. On the other hand, Jung-geon, who knew that Soon-ha was trying to end her life, seemed worried that he would be blamed for the incident. At the same time, So-jung and Jung-guk arrive at the school to investigate Soon-ha's act of trying to end her life. The two policemen then asked Chan-mi and Soo-hoon a few questions because they were the first to find Soon-ha and call the police. Chan-mi, who had met So-jung before, asked her to keep her identity as Won-seok's twin sister a secret because Chan-mi didn't want to cause a stir. Upon hearing that, So-jung understands Chan-mi's reasoning and promises to keep Chan-mi and Won-seok's relationship a secret. At the hospital, Soon-ha's father, Mr. Min, is shocked to learn that his daughter tried to end her life. Luckily, Soon-ha survived because Soo-hoon acted quickly to stop the bleeding. Mr. Min, who was furious when he found out that Jung-geon was back at Yeontan High School, rushed to the school to protest to the principal for allowing Jung-geon to return to school. On the other hand, So-yeon, who heard about Soon-ha's abuse, was devastated because So-yeon had also been bullied, so she could understand Soon-ha's suffering. At the same time, Chan-mi gets an incoming message from Ah-jung inviting her to meet at the bowling alley. Later that night, Chan-mi, who had arrived at the venue first, is surprised by the appearance of So-yeon, who claims to be Ah-jung. Surprisingly, Chan-mi already knew Ah-jung's face when Won-seok visited her in Busan and showed her a picture of the two of them a while ago. With her cover blown, So-yeon takes off her wig and asks why Chan-mi wants to see Ah-jung. But Chan-mi refuses to tell So-yeon and demands Ah-jung to come see her. So-yeon then threatens to kill Chan-mi if Chan-mi insists on seeing Ah-jung. Chan-mi doesn't seem to care about the threat and orders So-yeon to tell Ah-jung to come see her if Ah-jung feels guilty about Won-seok's death. However, So-yeon then tells Chan-mi that she has to meet a girl named So-mi if she wants to talk about Won-seok. Long story short, Chan-mi finally meets So-mi, who has transferred to another school. When Chan-mi asks about Won-seok, So-mi reveals that she was grateful when she found out that Won-seok was dead because So-mi had a grudge against Won-seok for getting her expelled from Yeontan High School. The scene then switches to the past and shows So-mi confessing that she was impregnated by Oh-sung. Won-seok, who is Oh-sung's best friend, then meets So-mi and asks her to prove her statement. Because So-mi refuses to do so, Won-seok forces So-mi to change schools according to their agreement. Won-seok then uses his cell phone to record and tells So-mi to confess that she has lied. Instead of doing what Won-seok told her to do, So-mi threatened to kill Won-seok. After telling Chan-mi about her past, So-mi then suggests that Won-seok is a jerk who always threatens people by saying that he will reveal their dirty secrets. Upon learning that, Chan-mi was shocked to find out that her twin brother had the heart to threaten others, thus making him hated by others. Therefore, as his twin sister, Chan-mi apologizes to So-mi on Won-sok's behalf. On the other hand, So-yeon comes to the hospital to see Soon-ha. Since Soon-ha is still unconscious despite her stable condition, So-yeon ends up chatting with Soon-ha's father, Mr. Min. So-yeon then revealed to Mr. Min that she was also a victim of bullying at school, so she could understand Soon-ha's current feelings and suffering. So-yeon says that she wants to take revenge on her bullies, but she realizes that she can't do that because her bullies are mostly from wealthy families and can do anything with the money they have, including avoiding police investigations. Mr. Min then said that he wanted to kill the person who had made his daughter suffer. Upon hearing that, So-yeon promised Mr. Min that she would avenge Soon-ha by removing the person who made Soon-ha suffer from Yongtan High School. So-yeon even felt confident that she could do more than that. Shortly afterward, So-yeon went to the bowling alley to meet Soo-hoon, who was confused about how to earn more money so that he could pay for his mother's medical expenses. Soo-hoon tells So-yeon that he's willing to do whatever it takes to earn money in a short amount of time so that he can pay off his mother's care and treatment at the nursing home. Upon hearing that, So-yeon then tells Soo-hoon that she can help Soo-hoon earn a lot of money in a short time, and all Soo-hoon needs to do is get rid of Jung-gyeong from their school. So-yeon offers that to Soo-hoon because Soo-hoon once saved So-yeon when she was bullied by her schoolmates. The scene then switches to the past and shows So-yeon being bullied by her schoolmates physically and also mentally. One day, Soo-hoon went to the people who were bullying So-yeon, beat them up and told them to apologize to So-yeon, who was hospitalized due to their bullying. In the end, the people who bullied So-yeon then visited her in the hospital and apologized to So-yeon. So-yeon, who could not contain her anger, then slapped her bullies while threatening to kill them if they dared to bully her again. In the present, Soo-hoon turns down So-yeon's offer for him to avenge Soon-ha the same way he saved So-yeon a while ago. Soo-hoon realizes that it could cause trouble if they get caught by the police, especially since Jung-gyeong managed to evade the police investigation when Soon-ha reported Jung-gyeong for sexually assaulting Soon-ha. However, So-yeon was confident that Soo-hoon would eventually accept her offer, so she gave Soo-hoon some time to think about it. The next day, Soo-hoon received a phone call informing him that his mother was in critical condition, requiring intensive care at the hospital and requiring more expensive medical expenses. While seeing his mother at the hospital, Soo-hoon tried to be strong and encouraged his mother. However, after returning from the hospital, Soo-hoon couldn't contain the sadness and frustration that enveloped his heart, and he burst into tears. Having no other choice, Soo-hoon finally accepts So-yeon's offer and prepares to remove Jung-gyeong from their school. Later that night, Soo-hoon, who had successfully trapped Jung-gyeong, tied Jung-gyeong's body to a chair and covered his eyes with duct tape. Although Jung-gyeong can't see him, Soo-hoon still hides his identity by wearing a mask and disguising his voice with a voice changer. Jung-gyeong, who was scared, offered Soo-hoon some money so that Soo-hoon would release him. But Soo-hoon refuses and threatens to cut off Jung-gyeong's fingers one by one if Jung-gyeong insists on attending Yongtan High School. Soo-hoon then told Jung-gyeong to leave the school openly so that the students could see Jung-gyeong leave. Although he refused to do so because then Jung-gyeong would be embarrassing himself. But in the end, Jung-gyeong said that he was willing to do it because Soo-hoon threatened to kill him. After getting confirmation that Jung-gyeong will leave Yongtan High School, Soo-hoon leaves the place. However, Soo-hoon accidentally found Soon-ha's nude photos, which Jung-gyeong planned to use to threaten Soon-ha because he intended to harass Soon-ha again. Upon knowing that, Soo-hoon suddenly felt angry and immediately took a hammer to smash one of Jung-gyeong's legs. Soo-hoon's cruel act towards Jung-gyeong implies that Soo-hoon might be experiencing behavioral changes related to his illness. After doing his work, Soo-hoon then exits by jumping over the fence, but at the same time, Soo-hoon coincidentally meets Chan-mi, who passes by the road. Chan-mi then asked why Soo-hoon was in that place and jumped over the fence. Soo-hoon swerved by saying that he had just done a workout and intended to go home. Chan-mi seemed to believe Soo-hoon's words because she then rode her motorcycle and left the place. The next day, before going to school, Chan-mi took the time to go to the columbarium to place flowers on the ashes of her twin brother. Chan-mi then remembers So-mi saying that Won-sok was a jerk who ruined her life. At the same time, Soo-hoon is also visiting the columbarium to place flowers and a bulgogi hamburger on the ashes of his older brother, Soo-min, who died some time ago. After Soo-hoon left, Chan-mi went to Soo-min's ashes to pray for him. Surprisingly, Soo-hoon suddenly appeared and saw Chan-mi praying for his brother. Soo-hoon then told Chan-mi that Soo-min was his older brother and asked about what Chan-mi was doing in the columbarium. Chan-mi then takes Soo-hoon to the place where Won-sok's ashes are kept while revealing that she's Won-sok's twin sister. Chan-mi then asks Soo-hoon to keep her relationship with Won-sok a secret from their schoolmates, as Chan-mi doesn't want to cause a stir. After that, Soo-hoon invited Chan-mi to eat together, but when they arrived at the restaurant, it was closed. Soo-hoon then told Chan-mi that his brother liked a bulgogi hamburger, therefore, Soo-hoon always brought the food when visiting Soo-min's tomb. The scene then switches to the past and shows Soo-min, who was being bullied by his classmates. They deliberately prevented Soo-min from going to the toilet, causing Soo-min to pee his pants. One day, when his mother came home from work, she saw Soo-min, who fell from the top floor and died on the spot. In the present, after telling Chon-mi about his brother, Soo-hoon then asked Chon-mi to leave. On the way to school by bus, Soo-hoon asks about Won-sook's real name, and Chon-mi tells him that his real name is Ok Chong-kyu. At Yongtan High School, the students are shocked to learn that Jun-gyeon decided to drop out of school. The students also seem to be talking about Jun-gyeon when they find out that he had an accident that made him have to use a wheelchair. The students then cheer Jun-gyeon with insults and hate speech because Jun-gyeon was a bully who often bullied and mistreated other students. One of Jun-gyeon's friends then told his friend that the person who had beaten Jun-gyeon and broken his leg deliberately told Jun-gyeon to do that, so the students would see him leave the school and embarrass Jun-gyeon in front of the other students. The students then talk about the person who beat up Jun-gyeon and consider him a hero for getting rid of the bullying student. Da-yeon tells her friends that a student saw a man wearing a mask walking out of the school building and assumes that the masked man is the one who beat up Jun-gyeon. At the same time, Soo-hoon and Chon-mi, who had just arrived at school, ran into Jun-gyeon, who was about to leave the school with his parents. Sometime later, Chon-mi and her classmates are seen in the school gym, where the basketball team of Chon-mi's class is competing with the basketball team of Oh-sung's class. Ji-hyun, who was sitting next to Chon-mi, then accused Chon-mi of dating Soo-hoon, but Chon-mi immediately denied it and refocused on watching the basketball game. Chon-mi, who sees Oh-sung trying to block Soo-hoon's movement on the court, remembers So-mi confessing that she was impregnated by Oh-sung. So-mi tells him that Won-sook and his friends threatened her, while Oh-sung just looked at them from a distance, which implies that Oh-sung might be good friends with Won-sook. In the middle of the basketball game, Soo-hoon suddenly collapses after hitting his head when Oh-sung pushed him. Soo-hoon is immediately taken to the hospital for medical treatment, while Ji-hyun, who is annoyed that Oh-sung has hurt the young man she has a crush on, pushes him, and the two get into an argument. Not long after, Soo-hoon finally regains consciousness and discovers that he's in the hospital. Ji-hyun, who accompanied Soo-hoon at the hospital, then invited him to go home because the doctor had allowed Soo-hoon to go home after making sure that his condition had recovered. When she was about to leave the hospital, Ji-hyun accidentally bumped into So-yeon, who was in disguise and wanted to visit Soon-ha. When Ji-hyun was about to reprimand So-yeon, Soo-hoon stopped Ji-hyun and took the girl away from the hospital because he didn't want So-yeon's disguise to be discovered by Ji-hyun. Elsewhere, one of Soon-ha's schoolmates, Ah-young, is seen visiting Soon-ha and informs her about Jun-gyeon, who has voluntarily left the school. Ah-young tells Soon-ha that someone beat up Jun-gyeon and told him to leave Yongtan High School. Upon hearing that, Soon-ha looks so relieved and cries happily because Jun-gyeon finally left school and will never bother her again. Soon-ha then asks Ah-young about the identity of the person who beat up Jun-gyeon. Ah-young tells her that they don't know the person's identity, but whoever it is, he's a hero because he not only helped Soon-ha get her revenge, but also saved the people who were bullied by Jun-gyeon and his friends. On the other hand, Mr. Min was visibly moved and cried tears of joy when he saw his daughter back to being cheerful and able to smile again. When So-yeon finally arrived at the place, Mr. Min then thanked So-yeon because she had kept her promise. Mr. Min then gives So-yeon some money because she helped Soon-ha get her revenge on Jun-gyeon. In fact, Mr. Min gives her more money than the amount they agreed on. Before leaving, So-yeon asks Mr. Min to keep everything a secret and forbids him to see her. The next day, So-jung is assigned by her superior, Gi Wang-do, to investigate Jun-gyeon's assault. Apparently, Jun-gyeon's parents reported their son's assault to the police and urged them to find the perpetrator who had beaten Jun-gyeon. At the same time, Chon-mi meets Oh-sung to ask about Won-sook. Chon-mi also tells Oh-sung that she has found out about Oh-sung's problem with So-mi and then asks why Oh-sung told Won-sook to solve his problem with So-mi instead of solving it himself. Oh-sung refuses to explain everything to Chon-mi and only tells Chon-mi that Won-sook is a good young man. Upon hearing that, Chon-mi is shocked because Oh-sung's opinion is completely opposite to So-mi's, who says that Won-sook is a jerk. Chon-mi then mentions Won-sook's death, but Oh-sung seems to be hiding something from Chon-mi and decides to leave without giving any explanation. Surprisingly, Oh-sung accidentally left his cell phone on the table, so Chon-mi immediately ran after him. However, Oh-sung had already boarded a taxi, so Chon-mi rushed to get her motorcycle to catch the taxi so she could return Oh-sung's cell phone. Upon arriving at Oh-sung's house, Chon-mi rang the bell and was surprised to find out that the person who came out to meet her was none other than Ji-hyun. Chon-mi handed Oh-sung's cell phone to Ji-hyun, who went inside without saying anything to Chon-mi. Ji-hyun looks angry at Oh-sung when she hands over his cell phone, because Oh-sung has indirectly caused Chon-mi to find out that Oh-sung and Ji-hyun live together. Ji-hyun then scolds Oh-sung and tells him to settle the matter because Ji-hyun doesn't want everyone to know that they're half-siblings and living together. Meanwhile, at the bowling alley, So-yeon secretly meets Soo-hoon and puts an envelope filled with money in Soo-hoon's locker as payment for the work done by Soo-hoon to remove Jun-gyeon from Yongtan High School. The next day, Oh-sung meets Chan-mi and reveals that he and Ji-hyun are half-siblings after his father married Ji-hyun's mother 2 years ago, so they live together. Oh-sung and Ji-hyun agree to keep the siblings' relationship between them a secret as they don't want to cause a stir. Upon learning that, Chan-mi promised Oh-sung that she would keep Oh-sung and Ji-hyun's relationship a secret from their schoolmates. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon, who is in his class, is surprised by one of his classmates who tells them that Jung-gyeong returned to school with 2 policemen who will investigate the incident experienced by Jung-gyeong. Instead of putting Jung-gyeong in jail for sexually assaulting Soon-ha, the police are trying to find the perpetrator who beat Jung-gyeong up. Soo-hoon becomes anxious and afraid that his actions will be discovered when he finds out that the police have come to his school to investigate. On the other hand, So-jong and Jong-guk intend to check the CCTV footage and question some students who happened to be at school at the time of the incident. At the same time, the students then tell So-jong and Jong-guk to stop the investigation because the police should arrest Jung-gyeong for the crime that Jung-gyeong has committed, instead of arresting the perpetrator who has beaten Jung-gyeong, who they have considered a hero for saving them from Jung-gyeong, who often bullies. Being cornered by the students, So-jong and Jong-guk finally return to the police station and conduct an investigation there. While checking the CCTV camera footage, So-jong finds a student riding a motorcycle and passing through a small alley next to the school building. In the meantime, a student jokes that what happened to Jung-gyeong might have been done by the person who sentenced Won-sok to death. Upon hearing that, Chan-mi is reminded of So-mi, who thought Won-sok was a jerk, just like Jung-gyeong. Chan-mi wonders if someone would intentionally kill Won-sok for the same reason as the person who harmed Jung-gyeong. Chan-mi remembers that she met Soo-hoon at the time of the incident and assumes that Soo-hoon might be the one who harmed Jung-gyeong. Suspicious of Soo-hoon, Chan-mi secretly sneaks into a fitness center because after his mother was admitted to a nursing home, Soo-hoon was living on the roof of the building because he couldn't afford to rent a room. Upon arrival, Chan-mi finds a pair of Soo-hoon's shoes with blood stains on them. Knowing that Soo-hoon had just arrived and was out of the house, Chan-mi quickly put the shoes in her bag and skulked away from Soo-hoon's residence so as not to get caught. At the same time, Soo-hoon suddenly felt a pain in his head and had a nosebleed that dripped blood onto his shoes. Chan-mi immediately took the opportunity to leave, but Soo-hoon eventually found out that Chan-mi had secretly sneaked into his residence and took his shoes. Shortly afterward, Chan-mi is approached by So-jong, who shows her the CCTV footage that captured Chan-mi when she stopped suddenly in a small alley next to the school building. Chan-mi admits that she did pass through the alley at the time of the incident and stopped her motorcycle suddenly because she met Soo-hoon. Chan-mi confidently confirms to the police that Soo-hoon isn't the one who harmed Jung-gyeong, but she refuses to give a reason because she doesn't want to reveal Soo-hoon's illness to others. Later that night, So-jong and Jong-guk meet Soo-hoon to question him about Chan-mi's testimony that she met Soo-hoon in the alley. Soo-hoon admits that he did meet Chan-mi in the alley by chance, but he refuses to go into details with the police because they don't have any evidence to link him to Jung-gyeong's incident. The next day, Soo-hoon went to Chan-mi and scolded her for giving testimony that led the police to question him about Jung-gyeong's incident. Soo-hoon also asked Chan-mi to return his shoes that Chan-mi had stolen yesterday. Chan-mi, who realized that her action had been caught, then apologized to Soo-hoon because she had misunderstood and accused Soo-hoon of being the one who hurt Jung-gyeong, even though the blood on Soo-hoon's shoes was Soo-hoon's blood that dripped when he had a nosebleed. Before leaving, Soo-hoon tells Chan-mi that he found out about Chan-mi deliberately transferring to Yontan High School to uncover the truth behind Won-sok's death. Soo-hoon then insists that Won-sok's death is not at all what Chan-mi thinks it is, which implies that the person who harmed Jung-gyeong in order to punish him is completely unrelated to the person who caused Won-sok's death. Upon hearing that, Chan-mi urges Soo-hoon to explain in more detail, but Soo-hoon refuses and tells Chan-mi to find out for herself. Later that night, Soo-hoon is seen putting the equipment he used to harm Jung-gyeong into a plastic trash bag and intends to throw it away. At the same time, Soo-hoon is surprised by So-jong's appearance at the bowling alley while he's at work. However, So-jong's arrival to the place turns out not to interrogate Soo-hoon, but to meet her lover, who is none other than In-seon, the doctor who has been treating Soo-hoon. The next day, Chan-mi finds an anonymous letter in her locker asking her to come meet the sender in the auditorium, as the sender has information about Won-sok's death. Without thinking, Chan-mi rushes to the auditorium, even though she doesn't know who sent the letter. Upon arriving at the pitch-black auditorium, Chan-mi turns on the flashlight on her cell phone to light the way. But surprisingly, someone suddenly hit Chan-mi from behind and made her collapse unconscious. The person then took Chan-mi's cell phone and left the place. Shortly afterward, Jae-bom arrived at the auditorium and immediately took Chan-mi to the hospital when he found Chan-mi unconscious. When Chan-mi finally regained consciousness, Jae-bom asked what Chan-mi was doing in the auditorium alone. Instead of revealing the real reason, Chan-mi tells Jae-bom that she just wanted to find a quiet place to calm her mind. Chan-mi then asks about Jae-bom being in the auditorium, and Jae-bom replies that he saw Chan-mi enter the auditorium and wanted to greet her, so he went inside the auditorium. The next day, Ji-hyun, who has just arrived at school, realizes something's wrong when the students stare at her sarcastically while talking bad about her. Ji-hyun was shocked to find out that a photo of her in an indecent pose had spread on social media and gone viral. Ji-hyun and her friends immediately knew that it was Da-yeon who had spread the photo, but she denied it and told them that Chanmi had sent the photo to her through a message. Shortly afterward, Chanmi, who had just arrived at school and had no idea about what had happened, was confronted by Ji-hyun, who immediately slapped her because Ji-hyun thought that Chanmi had edited a photo of her in an indecent pose to embarrass her in front of her schoolmates. When Ji-hyun was about to slap Chanmi again, Soo-hoon suddenly appeared and immediately stopped Ji-hyun, then took Chanmi away from the place. Once they were outside, Soo-hoon then told Chanmi to go back to Busan because Chanmi would only hurt herself if she stayed at Yongtan High School and insisted on uncovering the truth behind Won-sok's death. However, Chanmi refuses to leave and is determined to uncover the truth behind her twin brother's death. Shortly afterward, Chanmi goes to Da-yeon to inquire about the message she sent to Da-yeon, hoping to find the person who took her cell phone and sent the photo of Ji-hyun to Da-yeon. Chanmi also went to Jae-bom and told him that someone had attacked her in the auditorium by hitting her unconscious. Chanmi also told Jae-bom that the attacker might have taken her cell phone, then edited and shared Ji-hyun's photo on social media. Upon hearing that, Jae-bom took the initiative to check the school's CCTV footage to find out who entered the auditorium besides Chanmi. After getting permission from the principal, Jae-bom accessed the CCTV footage and saw a male student wearing a white hoodie sweater who entered the auditorium right after Chanmi entered the place. However, Jae-bom couldn't make out the person's face because he was wearing a mask to cover his face. On the other hand, Ji-hyun hears the rumors about her relationship with Oh-sung that have spread around the school and thinks that Chanmi has spilled the beans about Ji-hyun and Oh-sung being half-siblings. At the same time, Oh-sung suddenly finds Ji-hyun and scolds her for threatening Chanmi, causing chaos in the school that also involves him. Oh-sung then tells Ji-hyun to settle the matter with Chanmi so that Chanmi will no longer trouble them both. The next day, Chanmi then asks Jae-bom about the CCTV camera footage while they were practicing shooting. Instead of telling the truth, Jae-bom lies to Chanmi by saying that he didn't see anyone enter the auditorium after Chanmi. Meanwhile, Oh-sung meets his father, Wang-do, who is the chief of Yongtan Police Station, and asks his father to get Chanmi expelled from the school because Chanmi has been bullying Ji-hyun. Oh-sung also told his father that Chanmi was living in Seoul illegally because Chanmi, who was a high school student, rented a room pretending to be a college student. Upon learning of this, Wang-do told Oh-sung that he would immediately send Chanmi back to Busan so that Chanmi would no longer bother Ji-hyun, his stepdaughter whom he cared for like his own daughter. On the other hand, as Chanmi is about to leave school, she gets a text message from Ji-hyun to meet her in a parking lot. Instead of talking about their problems, Ji-hyun sends a group of punks to beat Chanmi up. At the same time, Soo-hoon, who happened to be nearby, immediately realized that Chanmi was being ganged up on by the thugs, so he rushed down to save Chanmi. However, upon arriving at the spot and finding out that Ji-hyun was the one who had ordered the thugs to gang up on Chanmi, Soo-hoon did nothing and just stayed silent as he watched Chanmi walk away from him. While cleaning up the items in the parking lot, Soo-hoon accidentally finds Chanmi's wallet that fell when the thugs beat her. Inside the wallet, Soo-hoon finds a picture of Chanmi and Won-sok when they were kids, and Soo-hoon somehow feels a little guilty for Chanmi. On the other hand, Chanmi, who has just arrived at the apartment building where she's been renting a room, is surprised by the photos of her that have been edited into indecent poses and posted on the walls of the building. Embarrassed and upset, Chanmi hastily tore up the photos before anyone could see them. At the same time, the landlord appeared and asked Chanmi to pack up her belongings and leave the room, as the police had reprimanded him earlier in the day for allowing a high school student to rent a room, which was against the law. Chanmi begged the landlord to let her stay for the night and promised that she would leave in the morning. But the landlord insisted on Chanmi leaving the place tonight, as the police threatened to revoke his business license if he didn't evict her immediately. Shortly afterward, Soo-hoon arrives and hands over Chanmi's wallet that fell in the parking lot. Soo-hoon, knowing that Chanmi has been evicted from her room, asks where Chanmi will be staying. Chanmi says that she'll find a place to stay like an internet cafe or a public bathhouse that operates 24 hours. Although Chanmi tries to be strong in front of Soo-hoon, he knows that there's no way Chanmi can stay at the places she's mentioned before, as they prohibit minors like Chanmi from staying overnight. Soo-hoon, who felt sorry for Chanmi, offered to let Chanmi stay at his place. Chanmi initially refused the offer, but Soo-hoon tried to persuade her and managed to convince Chanmi to stay with him. After putting her belongings in Soo-hoon's house, Chanmi said that she was hungry because she hadn't eaten since noon. Hearing this, Soo-hoon took Chanmi to a convenience store where they ate instant ramen noodles and rice balls for dinner. The next day, while just opening her locker, Chanmi receives another anonymous letter telling her to come to the auditorium. Shortly afterward, Chanmi approached Jihyun and firmly said that she was not the one who had edited and spread Jihyun's photo because someone had stolen her cell phone. Chanmi also emphasized that she never told anyone about the relationship between Jihyun and Oh-sung. Although Jihyun doesn't believe Chanmi's words and considers her as her enemy, Chanmi doesn't care and confirms to Jihyun that she will never leave Yongtan High School. While heading to her class, Jihyun accidentally runs into So-yeon, who is cornering Oh-sung about the rumors about his relationship with Jihyun. Upon seeing Jihyun's arrival at the place, So-yeon did not waste the opportunity to corner Jihyun, because So-yeon was fed up with Oh-sung and Jihyun, who always acted arrogantly at school. During break time, Oh-sung met Jung-kyung, who secretly came to school with his subordinates. Upon knowing that Oh-sung's father was a policeman, Jung-kyung asked Oh-sung to help him find the person who had hurt him and disfigured his leg. Oh-sung asked Jung-kyung to be patient because the police were still investigating and told him not to come to school anymore. Seeing Oh-sung's condescending attitude towards Jung-kyung, one of Jung-kyung's men then tried to threaten him by grabbing Oh-sung's shirt collar. However, Jung-kyung immediately stopped his subordinate and told him to let Oh-sung go. Although Jung-kyung was actually disgusted with Oh-sung, but he didn't have the courage to make trouble with Oh-sung because his father was the chief of Yongtan Police Station. After that, instead of leaving the school, Jung-kyung and his subordinates went to the school gym to play basketball. Jae-bom, who saw them, then warned them to leave the place immediately because neither Jung-kyung nor his subordinates had any business at the school. However, Jung-kyung ignored Jae-bom's warning and told his subordinates to beat up Jae-bom. At the same time, Soo-hoon, who happened to be in the school gym for a nap, suddenly appeared and immediately saved Jae-bom. Soo-hoon then got into a fierce fight against Jung-kyung's subordinates and managed to surpass them. When Soo-hoon loses control while beating up one of Jung-kyung's subordinates, Jae-bom immediately stops him before Soo-hoon does something he'll regret for the rest of his life. On the other hand, Chanmi goes to the auditorium, where the students are gathered to listen to a lecture by a monk. As the monk is delivering his lecture, the monitor above the podium suddenly shows footage showing the seconds before Won-seok fell out of the upstairs window, in which it's clear that someone pushed Won-seok, disproving the suspicions of the police and those who thought Won-seok took his own life. The students are shocked to see the video footage and a commotion erupts in the auditorium as students frantically run to the exit. The teachers tell the students to remain calm and return to their classes, while Chanmi, who is still in shock, remains silent in her seat as her whole body feels weak after seeing the horrific scene. Shortly afterward, the police, who had obtained the video footage from the school, found out that Chanmi had been trying to tell them the truth because the video showed someone coming up to Won-seok and pushing him to the ground. With the clues they just got, So-jung and Jung-guk decide to reinvestigate Won-seok's death, especially since they have also gotten permission from Wang-do, who wants them to solve Won-seok's death case immediately. On the other hand, Chanmi looks still devastated after seeing firsthand the seconds before her twin brother died because he was killed by someone. Chanmi also becomes curious about the person who sent her the anonymous letter and assumes that the person might know about the person who killed her twin brother. Elsewhere, Jae-bom meets Oh-sung and reveals that the person who attacked Chanmi in the auditorium a while ago was Oh-sung. Jae-bom then shows the CCTV footage of a male student wearing a white hoodie sweater entering the auditorium right after Chanmi entered. Jae-bom immediately knew it was Oh-sung because he saw the shoes Oh-sung was wearing, which were the limited edition shoes Jae-bom had gifted Oh-sung. Since his action has been caught, Oh-sung finally can't dodge and tells Jae-bom that he attacked Chanmi because Chanmi has been bothering him, so Oh-sung intends to take revenge on her to deter her. Jae-bom is shocked to hear that and feels disappointed in Oh-sung because he had the heart to harm someone else, especially since Chanmi is a woman and weaker than Oh-sung. Instead of apologizing, Oh-sung, who's annoyed at Chanmi, tells Jae-bom that Chanmi is Won-seok's twin sister. Upon hearing that, Jae-bom's face suddenly changes, as if he remembers something about Won-seok. The next day, Chanmi finds another anonymous letter in her locker asking her to come to the shooting range if she wants to know the truth behind Won-seok's death. Upon arriving at the shooting range, Chanmi instead meets with Jae-bom, who reveals that he also received an anonymous letter asking him to come to the shooting range. Not long after, Chanmi and Jae-bom are surprised by the appearance of a male student who sneaks away from the shooting range after learning of Chanmi and Jae-bom's arrival. Chanmi and Jae-bom, thinking that it might be the person who had sent them the anonymous letter, rushed after him, but they soon lost track of him and decided to return to school. Upon arriving at the school, Chanmi is asked to meet So-jung and Jung-guk as the two cops want to question Chanmi about Won-seok's death, as they had chatted via video call shortly before Won-seok's death. Before starting their investigation, So-jung and Jung-guk apologize to Chanmi for not believing Chanmi's words that someone might have killed Won-seok. However, Chanmi doesn't respond to them and asks the two cops to find Won-seok's cell phone. Jung-guk then asks about people who might have had problems with Won-seok and intended to kill him. But Chanmi bluntly says that the cops should find the suspects, instead of asking her since Chanmi previously lived in Busan and knows nothing about Won-seok's life at school. Unable to get any information from Chan-mi, the two cops send her away and call Soo-hoon to ask about Won-sook's death, since Soo-hoon was the first person to find Won-sook's body and contact the police. Jungkook seems to accuse Soo-hoon of being the one who killed Won-sook, especially when he finds out that Soo-hoon and Won-sook had been in a fight. However, Soo-hoon vehemently denies the accusation, saying that Won-sook first challenged him to a fight, so Soo-hoon accepted the challenge and their fight was not based on grudges or hatred. So Jung then asks about Won-sook's close friends at school, and Soo-hoon tells her that Won-sook was close friends with Oh-sung. On the other hand, Ah-jung, who has finally returned to school, is seen walking down the school corridor with Soo-yeon. But then, Ah-jung suddenly feels nauseous and hastily goes to the restroom and vomits up everything in her stomach. After giving information about Won-sook's death to the police, Soo-hoon rushes to the hospital to see his mother. Soo-hoon is relieved that his mother's health condition is improving and hopes that his mother can recover soon. Seeing her son working hard to pay for her medical expenses, Soo-hoon's mother could only pray that her son could become a successful person in the future and live his life happily. She also apologized to Soo-hoon because all this time she had never made Soo-hoon happy and instead always troubled him. Later that night, Chan-mi asks Soo-hoon to accompany her to Won-sook's parents as she intends to pick up Won-sook's belongings from their house. After handing over their late son's belongings, Won-sook's parents are relieved to find out that Won-sook didn't take his own life. Seeing their reaction, Soo-hoon is annoyed that they only care about their reputation, instead of trying to find the person who killed Won-sook. Soo-hoon angrily tells Won-sook's parents that they don't deserve to be called parents because they don't care about Won-sook at all. Chan-mi tries to calm Soo-hoon down as she urges him to leave the place immediately as they've already gotten Won-sook's belongings. Upon arriving home, Chan-mi immediately opens Won-sook's suitcase and finds several items that remind Chan-mi of their time together. When she finds a bottle of whiskey in the suitcase, Soo-hoon thinks that Won-sook must be having a hard time in life, so he decides to drink alcohol prematurely. Chan-mi and Soo-hoon then try drinking the whiskey, where Chan-mi then quips that her twin brother might not be the good person she thought he was. But Soo-hoon argues that Won-sook is a good person and also a loyal friend. Soo-hoon, who suddenly remembers that he's going to die soon, rushes outside because he can't hold back his tears. Chan-mi, who already knew about Soo-hoon's illness, immediately followed him and calmed him down while hugging him tightly. The next day, Chan-mi meets Ah-jung and asks her about Won-sook. Ah-jung reveals that she's not really dating Won-sook, as Ah-jung only asked Won-sook to pretend to be her boyfriend. Ah-jung did that to avoid a manager from an entertainment company who was forcing her to join their agency to become an idol. After school, Ah-jung takes So-yeon and Soo-hoon to lunch and reveals to them that she's 12 weeks pregnant. At first they think that Ah-jung is just making a joke, but So-yeon suddenly remembers that she once saw Ah-jung nauseous and vomiting at school. Despite being pregnant out of wedlock, Ah-jung seems excited as if she's been looking forward to the pregnancy. So-yeon and Soo-hoon then ask about the father of the fetus, but Ah-jung refuses to reveal the identity of the man who impregnated her to her friends. The next day, Chan-mi visits a cafe and coincidentally realizes that it's the cafe frequented by her twin brother. Hoping to get information about Won-sook, Chan-mi goes to the woman who owns the cafe and shows her Won-sook's picture, but the woman doesn't seem to recognize Won-sook. At the same time, a young man named Se-jin, who happens to see Won-sook's picture, tells Chan-mi that he knows Won-sook and was Won-sook's classmate in their first year. Se-jin tells Chan-mi that Won-sook helped him when he was bullied by Jung-gyeong and his friends, and from then on, they became close friends. However, after finishing his second year at Yongtan High School, Se-jin decided to drop out of school because he wanted to prepare himself before going abroad to continue his studies. Se-jin told Chan-mi that Won-sook was the kindest person he had ever known, as Won-sook often helped students who were bullied at school. Upon hearing that, Chan-mi is shocked because Se-jin's opinion of Won-sook contradicts So-mi, who calls Won-sook a jerk. However, the difference in opinion between them makes Chan-mi even more determined to uncover the truth behind her twin brother's death. Meanwhile, So-yeon is seen accompanying Ah-jung to the hospital to have her pregnancy checked. Just as they're about to enter the room of Dr. Mok, the doctor who will examine Ah-jung's pregnancy, a young man named Hyuk suddenly jumps the queue and rushes into the room. Hyuk then asks Dr. Mok to withdraw her lawsuit against Hyuk's parents, but Dr. Mok refuses, because Hyuk must be held accountable for taking the life of Dr. Mok's daughter. After that, Dr. Mok immediately calls the security guards to evict Hyuk from his room. Seeing this, Ah-jung tells So-yeon that she knows Hyuk, who apparently went to the same junior high school as Ah-jung. Ah-jung tells her that Hyuk brutally killed a girl named Yoon-jin, and Ah-jung just found out that Yoon-jin was Dr. Mok's daughter. Hyuk was supposed to be sent to prison to account for his crime, but since Hyuk is still a minor, he only gets a warning. However, Dr. Mok, who was devastated by her daughter's death, couldn't accept the judge's decision and filed a lawsuit against Hyuk's parents. Upon learning that, So-yeon then meets Dr. Mok to discuss Yoon-jin's death. Dr. Mok seems surprised when So-yeon mentions about her daughter's death. While undercover, So-yeon tells Dr. Moak that she understands Dr. Moak's pain because she's been there too. So-yeon then asks Dr. Moak if she wants revenge on Hyuk for the murder he committed against Yoon-jin. The scene then switches to the past and shows Yoon-jin on her way home from school. While passing through the deserted road leading to her house, Hyuk suddenly stops Yoon-jin and invites her to go on a date with him. However, Yoon-jin refused the invitation, so Hyuk, who felt angry, then stabbed Yoon-jin to death. Shortly afterward, Dr. Moak, who saw Hyuk stabbing her daughter, got out of the car and tried to stop Hyuk. Instead of feeling scared or guilty, Hyuk challenged Dr. Moak to report him to the police and confidently said that he wouldn't be thrown in jail because he was a minor. In the present, Jae-bom is seen at the boxing stadium to see Soo-hoon, who is practicing boxing. Not long after, Dok-jun approaches Jae-bom and offers Jae-bom to train at his boxing stadium. Dok-jun also says that Soo-hoon actually has the potential to become a professional boxer, but he always refuses to participate in boxing matches. Soo-hoon, who heard that, then reiterated to Dok-jun that he just wanted to focus on studying and do boxing exercises to relieve stress. As Jae-bom waited for Soo-hoon outside, he was suddenly approached by a group of young punks who intended to bully him. Soo-hoon, who saw this, immediately chased away the punks who looked scared to see Soo-hoon and hurriedly left Jae-bom because they didn't want to make trouble with Soo-hoon. Since Soo-hoon had helped him, Jae-bom took Soo-hoon to the racetrack, where Jae-bom drove a sports car at high speed to get their adrenaline going. Soo-hoon looks excited because this is the first time for him to ride a sports car at high speed. Jae-bom then offers Soo-hoon to try driving the sports car, but Soo-hoon is unsure because he's never driven a car before. However, Jae-bom assures Soo-hoon that he will teach Soo-hoon to drive the car until Soo-hoon is able to drive the car skillfully. Surprisingly, Soo-hoon turns out to be a fast learner, so he's able to drive a car skillfully in no time. After spending the whole afternoon with Soo-hoon, Jae-bom finally returns home and intends to go to bed soon. Jae-bom, who has just come out of the bathroom, accidentally finds a book on the floor of his room. Jae-bom then wondered why the book was there, even though there was nothing on the floor of his room before. Jae-bom, who didn't recognize the book, then turned the book over and found that it belonged to Yongtan High School's library. Jae-bom then went to his mother and asked if anyone had entered his room while he was in the shower. His mother seemed surprised by Jae-bom's question, as there was no one in the house but the two of them, and Jae-bom always locked the door to his room. When Jae-bom returned to his room, he was surprised to find that his car keys had been moved, and wondered who had moved the car keys when there was no one in the house but him and his mother. When Jae-bom is about to read the book he found on the floor of his room, he suddenly finds a picture of him and Won-sok riding a horse. Because Jae-bom has lost his memory, he doesn't recognize Won-sok and just ignores the photo. Elsewhere, Soo-hoon is seen meeting So-yeon, who offers him a new job. So-yeon asks Soo-hoon to punish Hyuk so that Hyuk will apologize to Dr. Moak for killing Dr. Moak's daughter. For this job, So-yeon offers a sizable fee, and with the fee, Soo-hoon can pay for his mother's care at the nursing home for 6 months. For the sake of his mother's recovery, Soo-hoon immediately accepted So-yeon's job offer, even though the job was quite risky. So-yeon then asked Soo-hoon to wait because she would find the right time to carry out their actions. In addition, So-yeon also asked Soo-hoon to control himself, because So-yeon didn't want the incident experienced by Jung-gyeong to happen again, which could cause Soo-hoon and So-yeon to get into trouble. Upon knowing that So-yeon is worried about him, Soo-hoon apologizes and promises that he will restrain himself this time. A few days later, Jae-bom meets Soo-hoon and gives him tickets to watch a professional basketball game. Soo-hoon, who loves watching sports, seems happy and thanks Jae-bom for giving him the ticket. On the other hand, Oh-seon doesn't seem happy to see Jae-bom and Soo-hoon's closeness. While in his class, Jae-bom then shows Oh-seon the photo he found in the book and asks about the young man in the photo. Oh-seon, who sees the photo, is suddenly surprised and rushes to hide the photo before anyone else sees it, while whispering to Jae-bom that the young man in the photo is Won-sok, the student who was found dead at their school some time ago. Meanwhile, So-yeon, who is investigating Hyuk, gets information about Hyuk working at his father's car repair shop, and his parents intend to send Hyuk abroad the next day because Hyuk made trouble, which caused Dr. Moak to report him to the police. After getting this information, So-yeon rushed to Soo-hoon and told him to act tonight. Soo-hoon initially refuses because he intends to watch the basketball game with Jae-bom. However, after So-yeon tells him that Hyuk is going abroad tomorrow, Soo-hoon has no choice but to comply with So-yeon's order to perform that night. Soo-hoon then sends Jae-bom a text message to let him know that he had to cancel his appointment to watch the basketball game with Jae-bom. Later that night, Soo-hoon sneaks into Hyuk's father's car repair shop while spraying something on the CCTV camera to block its view. Once inside the workshop, Soo-hoon accidentally drops something which makes Hyuk realize his presence. Even so, Soo-hoon easily immobilizes Hyuk and ties him to a chair, then blindfolds him and silences his mouth with duct tape. Afterward, Soo-hoon mentions Yoon-jin, who was brutally murdered by Hyuk some time ago. Soo-hoon then beats Hyuk up while threatening to kill him if Hyuk refuses to apologize to Dr. Mok and take responsibility for killing Yoon-jin. After beating Hyuk and threatening to cut off his fingers one by one, Soo-hoon leaves Hyuk still tied to the chair. The next day, when Soo-hoon meets So-yeon at school, Soo-hoon tells her that everything went well. Upon hearing that, So-yeon is relieved that Soo-hoon didn't act rashly and was able to finish the job well. Meanwhile, the police are seen conducting an investigation at Hyuk's father's car repair shop, because Hyuk, surprisingly, is found dead tied to a chair. Elsewhere, Se-jin comes to see Chon-mi and reveals that he was the one who sent Chon-mi the anonymous letter that he slipped into her locker. Se-jin recognizes Chon-mi as Won-sook's twin sister because Won-sook once showed him her photo. Se-jin also reveals that he was the one who played the videotape showing the seconds before Won-sook was killed, where in the video, someone can be seen approaching Won-sook and it's possible that the person intentionally pushed Won-sook, causing him to fall and eventually die. The scene then switches to the past and shows Se-jin who sees Won-sook sitting at the window. Se-jin, who is Won-sook's close friend, then secretly records Won-sook with his cell phone. But unexpectedly, Won-sook suddenly falls from the top floor and the incident makes Se-jin shocked, so he decides to rush away from the place. After listening to Se-jin's explanation, Chon-mi then asks why Se-jin didn't hand over the video footage to the police while they were still investigating the incident. Se-jin explains that he originally thought Won-sook took his own life, but after seeing Chon-mi's determination to uncover the truth behind Won-sook's death, Se-jin finally has the courage to watch the videotape again and discovers that someone pushed Won-sook out of the window. Therefore, Se-jin decides to reveal the fact by playing the videotape in the school auditorium when the students and teachers are attending a religious event so that everyone knows that Won-sook was killed by someone. Chon-mi then asks Se-jin if Se-jin suspects anyone and Se-jin tells her that he suspects Soo-hoon as the one who killed Won-sook. Se-jin suspects Soo-hoon as the murderer because he saw the person who pushed Won-sook wearing white shoes and red shoelaces, just like Soo-hoon used to wear at school. On the other hand, Jae-bom meets Soo-hoon and asks why Jae-bom didn't come to watch the basketball game last night. Soo-hoon replies that he had work to finish that night and tells Jae-bom that he couldn't make it to the basketball game. Jae-bom says that he didn't get the message, and Soo-hoon realizes that his message wasn't sent because his phone suddenly died. The day before Hyuk is killed, Oh-sung takes Jae-bom to the backyard of the school, where he then asks Jae-bom to pretend not to know Won-sook if the police question him. Oh-sung tells Jae-bom that he just wants to make sure that Jae-bom doesn't get involved with Won-sook's death case, which is currently being reinvestigated by the police after they get a new lead. In the present, So-jung and Jung-guk, who are investigating Hyuk's death, find some similarities with Jun-gyeong's assault, so they assume that the person who killed Hyuk and the person who beat Jun-gyeong are the same person. Meanwhile, Chon-mi secretly notices Soo-hoon wearing white shoes with red laces and wonders about Soo-hoon being the suspected killer of Won-sook. Elsewhere, So-yeon and Ah-jung, who are in the restroom, overhear a group of female students talking about Chon-mi, who is Won-sook's twin sister. So-yeon and Ah-jung seem surprised to learn this fact, and they finally understand why Chon-mi was so eager to know everything about Won-sook before his death. Apparently, one of the students accidentally eavesdropped on Chon-mi's conversation when she asked So-jung to keep her identity as Won-sook's twin sister a secret from everyone. Ji-hyun, who found out about this fact, confronts Chon-mi and deliberately makes her angry by insulting her. Ah-jung, who learns of their dispute, intends to defend Chon-mi, but Ji-hyun immediately becomes angry that Ah-jung is interfering in their business. When Ji-hyun is about to slap Ah-jung, Chon-mi stops Ji-hyun and beats her to a pulp. As a result of the incident, Ji-hyun's mother, who was furious that her daughter was beaten by Chon-mi, went to the principal and urged him to expel Chon-mi from school. However, the principal had to discuss the matter with the teachers before making the decision to expel Chon-mi from Yongtan High School. Afterward, So-yeon asks Chon-mi about the principal's decision and Chon-mi tells her that the principal only gave the suspension and told Chon-mi to behave. So-yeon and Ah-jung then take Chon-mi out for ice cream, where Ah-jung then tells Chon-mi that Won-sook used to be a kind-hearted student and always defended students who were bullied at their school. However, Won-sook suddenly changed after befriending Oh-sung, who deliberately manipulated Won-sook to achieve his own purposes. Ah-jung finds out about this because she overheard Won-sook and Oh-sung's conversation about So-mi. Oh-sung tells Won-sook to solve his problem with So-mi, who claims to be impregnated by Oh-sung. At first, Won-sook refuses Oh-sung's request because he doesn't want to get involved in their problems. But Oh-sung threatens Won-sook with something, which then makes Won-sook flinch and finally has no choice but to comply with Oh-sung's request to solve his problem with So-mi. At the police station, So-jung is questioning Jun-gyeong to find clues about the identity of the person who beat him up. Jun-gyeong reveals that he was blindfolded at the time and he could only smell the pungent odor of engine oil and the faint smell of the hospital. Jun-gyeong also tells her that the man had a very good punch like a professional boxer. Upon learning that, So-jung assumes that the person who beat up Jun-gyeong is probably Soo-hoon. Elsewhere, Jungkook meets Chanmi to ask about Soo-hoon, who is suspected of assaulting Jung-gyeong. Chanmi refuses to give any information to the police as the assault case is not related to her twin brother's death. However, Jungkook tells Chanmi that they also suspect Soo-hoon as the one who killed Won-seok because Soo-hoon was the first person to find Won-seok's body. At the same time, So-jong meets Soo-hoon because she already suspects Soo-hoon as the perpetrator of the attack on Jung-gyeong. However, Soo-hoon refuses to go into detail about what he did during the incident, as the police haven't found any evidence yet. Meanwhile, Jae-bom, who's at the stables, seems confused as to why he's in that place. Jae-bom doesn't seem to remember what he did until he ended up in the stable. Jae-bom then called his mother and asked her to pick him up immediately. The next day, Won-do tells Oh-sung and Ji-hyun that he's going to expel Chanmi from Yongtan High School after Chanmi's beating of Ji-hyun. Won-do even intends to imprison Chanmi for what the girl did to his daughter. In addition, Won-do warns his children to be more vigilant because their school is currently in the public spotlight after Won-seok's case was revealed as a murder case. The situation is also exacerbated after the perpetrator of the attack on Jung-gyeong is suspected to have committed a murder that killed a worker at a car repair shop. Won-do also asks Oh-sung and Ji-hyun to keep the murder at the auto shop a secret. Upon arriving at school, Oh-sung then meets Chanmi, who is practicing shooting. Oh-sung then apologizes to Chanmi and says that he will do everything possible to keep Chanmi from being expelled from Yongtan High School. He tells Chanmi that his reason for helping Chanmi is because he wants to repay Won-seok, who is his close friend. Oh-sung also tells Chanmi that he will help Chanmi find the person who killed Won-seok. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon, who was about to head to school, was stopped by Jung-gyeong and his men. Soo-hoon then remembers So-jong's words last night about Jung-gyeong's alleged attacker having the skills of a professional boxer. Knowing that Jung-gyeong might be trying to trap him into pulling out his boxing technique, Soo-hoon chooses not to fight back when Jung-gyeong orders his men to gang up on Soo-hoon. Elsewhere, So-jong meets Dr. Mok and tells him about Hyuk being murdered. Upon hearing that, Dr. Mok looks shocked because she didn't expect Hyuk to be dead. So-jong then asks about Hyuk meeting Dr. Mok a few days ago, and Dr. Mok explains that Hyuk demanded that she drop the lawsuit against Hyuk's parents. Since Dr. Mok refused to drop the lawsuit, Hyuk left her office angrily. At the same time, So-yeon, who was about to meet Dr. Mok, accidentally bumped into So-jong, who had just come out of Dr. Mok's room. After So-jong leaves, So-yeon asks Dr. Mok why a cop like So-jong came to see her. Dr. Mok then tells her that someone killed Hyuk and So-jong is investigating the murder case. Dr. Mok looks annoyed because she thought that So-yeon had ordered someone to kill Hyuk. After handing over the payment for their deal, Dr. Mok asks So-yeon to leave immediately and never have contact with her again because she doesn't want to be involved in Hyuk's murder case. Upon learning about Hyuk's murder, So-yeon was shocked because she didn't think that Soo-hoon had killed Hyuk. Later that night, So-yeon met Soo-hoon and demanded an explanation from Soo-hoon about Hyuk's murder. Upon hearing that, Soo-hoon was shocked and emphasized that he didn't kill Hyuk at all and was sure that Hyuk was still alive when he left him after giving a warning. In the meantime, Oh-sung meets Won-do in his office and asks his father not to expel Chanmi from school because Ji-hyun confronted Chanmi first, so Chanmi couldn't contain her anger and beat up Ji-hyun. Oh-sung tells his father that expelling Chanmi from Yongtan will only cause Ji-hyun's reputation as a popular girl in school to be tarnished, as the students will assume that Ji-hyun is just a spoiled girl who will always be protected by her family. Meanwhile, So-jong, who is checking the CCTV camera footage around the car repair shop, finds a man wearing a hat and carrying a black backpack. So-jong assumes that the man is the perpetrator of Hyuk's murder, and she feels even more confident that Soo-hoon is the culprit because the man's stature looks like Soo-hoon. Moreover, Jung-gyeong also testified that he smelled engine oil and alcohol, both of which were often used to clean bowling pins, and Soo-hoon worked part-time at the bowling alley. Shortly afterward, So-jong and Jung-gook went to Soo-hoon at the bowling alley to search Soo-hoon's locker at the venue. However, after conducting a search, they found nothing suspicious, including the backpack they suspected. Soo-hoon, who had anticipated that the police might suspect him, had stored his backpack in his locker at the boxing stadium. After the police left because they didn't get any evidence, Soo-hoon rushed to the boxing stadium on his motorcycle to hide his backpack containing the objects he used to punish Jung-gyeong and Hyuk. However, unbeknownst to Soo-hoon, So-jong and her partner knew that Soo-hoon had another hiding place, so they secretly followed Soo-hoon to the boxing stadium. So-jong and Jung-gook, who arrive at the boxing stadium first, enter the place and force open Soo-hoon's locker, but they found nothing in the locker. When So-jong was about to search Soo-hoon's room, Soo-hoon, who was annoyed, told So-jong and the police to leave immediately and not bother him anymore because the police didn't have a warrant to search. When the police had left, Soo-hoon wondered about the whereabouts of his backpack that just disappeared. However, Soo-hoon's backpack didn't really disappear because the person who had taken the backpack was none other than Chanmi, who intended to send the backpack to the orphanage where she lived in Busan. On the other hand, Jae-bom takes Oh-sung to the stables while telling Oh-sung that some time ago, Jae-bom suddenly found himself in that place and doesn't remember how he got there. Not only that, Jae-bom has apparently remembered that he went into a coma and lost his memory not because of an accident, but because he tried to kill himself in the stable. Upon hearing that, Oh-sung looks surprised that Jae-bom has remembered about it. Upon seeing Oh-sung's reaction, Jae-bom assumes that everyone lied to him about his attempt to end his life. Jae-bom, who knows that he was close to Won-seok, asks Oh-sung if he was the one who killed Won-seok. Oh-sung is silent to the question and refuses to elaborate on Won-seok's death. Meanwhile, Chon-mi rushes off to Busan after delivering Soo-hoon's backpack. The next day, Chon-mi finally arrives at the orphanage and meets up with Ji-won, who hands over Soo-hoon's backpack to Chon-mi. Afterward, Chon-mi headed to the pier with Soo-hoon's backpack, while Soo-hoon, who was at the boxing stadium, found a note from Chon-mi asking him to come to Busan if Soo-hoon wanted to get his backpack back. Without thinking, Soo-hoon immediately left for Busan and headed to the location mentioned by Chon-mi in the note. At that place, Soo-hoon finally met Chon-mi, who then pointed a gun at Soo-hoon because Chon-mi assumed that Soo-hoon was the perpetrator of Hyok's murder. Soo-hoon tries to explain to Chon-mi that he wasn't the one who killed Hyok, but Chon-mi doesn't believe Soo-hoon and fires a shot that injures Soo-hoon's arm. An angry Soo-hoon then tries to get to Chon-mi and reveals that he was the one who beat up Jung-geon and Hyok to punish them, but Soo-hoon also insists that he didn't kill Hyok. With tears in her eyes, Chon-mi then asks Soo-hoon why he killed Won-seok. Upon hearing that, Soo-hoon looks shocked as he didn't expect Chon-mi to accuse him of killing Won-seok. A frustrated Soo-hoon then tells Chon-mi that he had no reason to kill Won-seok, making it impossible for him to take Won-seok's life. Chon-mi, who still suspects Soo-hoon of being the killer of her twin brother, then tells Soo-hoon that she found some clues in Soo-hoon's backpack that could prove that Soo-hoon is a murderer. While Chon-mi is still explaining her reasons for suspecting Soo-hoon of being a murderer, Soo-hoon seizes the moment when Chon-mi is caught off guard to snatch the firearm held by Chon-mi. After successfully snatching the gun from Chon-mi, Soo-hoon then puts the gun to his own head while saying that he's willing to end his life if Chon-mi is convinced that he's the one who killed Won-seok. Amidst the tension, Chon-mi's cell phone suddenly rings, signaling an incoming call. Checking her cell phone, Chon-mi is shocked to find that the call came from Won-seok's cell phone. Chon-mi immediately picks up the phone, but the person holding Won-seok's cell phone doesn't say anything and disconnects the call. Because of the phone call, Chon-mi finally learns that Soo-hoon wasn't the one who killed Won-seok. Meanwhile elsewhere, Jae-bom is seen thinking about what Oh-sung said while they were at the stables. Oh-sung reveals that Jae-bom fell into a coma and lost his memory after he tried to end his life by jumping off the roof of his family's company building. Oh-sung and Jae-bom's parents don't know the reason why Jae-bom attempted to end his life, as they didn't find a will or anything related to the problems that Jae-bom might be going through. Oh-sung then asks Jae-bom to keep his parents in the dark about his recovered memory, since it was his parents who decided about the car accident as the cause of Jae-bom's coma and memory loss, instead of bringing up Jae-bom's attempt to end his life. Oh-sung promises to explain Jae-bom's relationship with Won-seok when the time comes. After clearing up the misunderstanding between them, Soo-hoon decides to burn his backpack to remove the evidence of his involvement in the attack on Jung-geon and Hyok. Chon-mi, who feels guilty for hurting Soo-hoon and accusing him of being the one who killed Won-seok, takes the initiative to treat the wound on Soo-hoon's arm and buy him a new jacket. They then go to a photo booth, where Chon-mi treats the wound on Soo-hoon's arm and bandages it, then tells Soo-hoon to change. After that, Soo-hoon asks Chon-mi to take a photo together. Although Chon-mi initially looks shy around Soo-hoon, she eventually agrees to take a picture with Soo-hoon. As they're about to head home, Soo-hoon asks about Chon-mi, knowing that the police have suspected him as the perpetrator of the attack on Jung-geon and Hyok and are planning to conduct a search. Chon-mi reveals that she found out about it from Oh-sung, who told her about the police finding clues about the black backpack used by the perpetrator. After hearing that from Oh-sung, Chon-mi immediately remembered the black backpack used by Soo-hoon when they accidentally met in a small alley. Therefore, Chon-mi assumed that Soo-hoon was the one who had assaulted Jung-geon and possibly killed Won-seok. Soo-hoon then thanks Chon-mi for taking away his backpack, because if Chon-mi hadn't hidden the backpack, the police might have named him as the suspect in Hyok's murder. Chon-mi once again apologizes to Soo-hoon for accusing him of being a murderer, but Soo-hoon doesn't mind at all because he also committed a crime by beating up Jung-geon and Hyok. Soo-hoon reveals to Chon-mi that he was forced to commit the crime because he needed money to pay for his mother's care at the nursing home. Chon-mi then tells Soo-hoon that she had heard a ringtone from another cell phone when the person using Won-seok's cell phone called her. Fortunately, Chon-mi had recorded the call, so the cell phone's ringtone could be heard quite clearly. Elsewhere, Oh-sung meets Jae-bom and hands him an envelope containing photos of Jae-bom and Won-seok enjoying every moment of their time together. From the photos, Jae-bom thinks that he might have a close relationship with Won-seok that goes beyond a casual friendship. Upon arriving home, Jae-bom burns the photos because he doesn't want to be involved in Won-seok's death case. In the meantime, Ah Jung introduces her boyfriend to So-yeon, who seems surprised because Ah Jung's boyfriend is a well-known idol. Even so, So-yeon doesn't hesitate to threaten Ah Jung's boyfriend if he hurts her best friend and leaves her. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon decides to return to Seoul alone and leaves Chan-mi still asleep. However, upon arriving at the train station, Soo-hoon suddenly has a headache and collapses unconscious. A few days later, when Chan-mi had just parked her motorcycle, So-jung suddenly appeared and asked about Chan-mi, who's living with Soo-hoon. Chan-mi refuses to answer the question and instead questions the performance of the police in investigating Won-sok's death case, which seems to have made no progress because they are always dealing with unimportant matters. So-jung and her partner try to get information from Chan-mi as they get a clue about Chan-mi taking Soo-hoon's backpack and assume that Chan-mi might have conspired with Soo-hoon. On the other hand, So-yeon seems anxious because Soo-hoon hasn't been at school for a few days and she can't contact Soo-hoon. Meanwhile, Jae-bom, who is about to look for Soo-hoon at the boxing stadium, accidentally sees Chan-mi entering the building and rushes to follow her. Jae-bom seems surprised to find out that Chan-mi is living with Soo-hoon in that place, so he intends to investigate further. Jae-bom then texted Chan-mi and asked her to meet him at a cafe. After making sure Chan-mi has left the building, Jae-bom secretly enters their residence and accidentally finds a photo of the two of them at the photo booth. Upon seeing that, Jae-bom looks jealous, as if he has romantic feelings for Chan-mi and is unhappy with Chan-mi and Soo-hoon's closeness. In the meantime, Jung-guk meets So-yeon, who has just returned from school, and asks her about Soo-hoon's whereabouts. Jung-guk says that Soo-hoon often contacts So-yeon, and vice versa, so he assumes that So-yeon might know the whereabouts of Soo-hoon, the suspected murderer. Ah Jung, who happens to be there with So-yeon, then asks about a warrant if Jung-guk intends to interrogate So-yeon. Upon hearing that, Jung-guk replies that he doesn't need a warrant to question So-yeon. Ah Jung, who heard that answer, storms off, saying that So-yeon doesn't need to answer Jung-guk's questions either, and takes So-yeon away from him. Arriving home, Ah Jung then asks So-yeon about the police who came to see her. So-yeon finally reveals to her best friend that Soo-hoon is the one who beat up Jung-geum, and the police seem to have suspected Soo-hoon while they were investigating the case. Instead of being angry at her best friends for committing a minor crime, Ah Jung is excited and considers Soo-hoon a hero for punishing a delinquent like Jung-geum. Meanwhile, Oh-sung, who has just arrived at the boxing stadium because he was asked to come by Jae-bom, accidentally meets Ji-hyun, who is also heading to the place. When they both go up to the roof of the building, they meet Jae-bom, who tells them that Soo-hoon lives in that place. Ji-hyun, who was looking around the place, accidentally found Chan-mi's uniform. Ji-hyun thinks that Soo-hoon and Chan-mi live in the same house, but Jae-bom tries to cover up the fact. Ji-hyun, who doesn't believe it, insists on going inside and finds Chan-mi's belongings in the place, indicating that Chan-mi and Soo-hoon are indeed living together. Ji-hyun, who finds out about this, becomes furious and intends to harm Chan-mi. At the same time, Chan-mi, who was waiting for Jae-bom at the cafe, received a text message from Jae-bom apologizing that he couldn't come see Chan-mi. Later that night, Chan-mi tried to contact Soo-hoon because he had been missing for a few days and Chan-mi was worried about Soo-hoon. Since Chan-mi can't reach Soo-hoon, she plays back a recording of a phone call from someone using Won-sok's cell phone number and tries to remember the cell phone ringtone that was accidentally recorded in the call. The next day, while Chan-mi is riding her motorcycle to school, she soon realizes that her brakes have failed, so she is unable to stop her motorcycle, resulting in an accident that leaves her seriously injured. While taking her motorcycle to the repair shop, the mechanic told Chan-mi that someone had cut the brake cable on her motorcycle. Upon hearing that, Chan-mi immediately knew that the person who had cut the brake cable was Ji-hyun, but she was reluctant to accuse Ji-hyun without evidence. Chan-mi then tries to make a scene at school to force Ji-hyun to confess her actions. But So-yeon, who found out about it, immediately stopped Chan-mi as she warned Chan-mi that she would be expelled from school if she was proven to have made a mess, and So-yeon didn't want her best friend expelled from school. Chan-mi finally obeyed So-yeon's words and headed to the infirmary with limping steps to treat her injuries from the accident. After treating her wounds, Chan-mi then returned home and found broken glass on the floor and a very messy house. In the meantime, So-jung, who is meeting her lover at the hospital, accidentally meets Soo-hoon, who has just recovered and is about to say goodbye to In-seon, who is So-jung's lover. So-jung finally finds out that Soo-hoon has a brain tumor, and all this time, instead of disappearing, Soo-hoon was undergoing treatment at the hospital handled directly by In-seon. Sometime later, Chan-mi, who has cleaned up her house, realizes that the photo of her and Soo-hoon is missing, and she thinks that the person who made her house a mess has taken the photo. Soon after, Chan-mi hears someone knocking on the door, and when she opens the door, she looks relieved that Soo-hoon has finally returned home. Chan-mi then expressed her concern to Soo-hoon as she couldn't contact Soo-hoon, who had been missing for a few days. Upon knowing that Chan-mi is worried about him, Soo-hoon apologizes to Chan-mi, then takes Chan-mi to a karaoke place to surprise Chan-mi for her birthday. Chan-mi then asks how Soo-hoon and the others knew her birthday, and Ah-jong tells her that she knew Won-sook's birthday, who is Chan-mi's twin brother. At the same time, Oh-sung is seen entering the karaoke place where Chan-mi is celebrating her birthday because Jae-bom asked him to meet him there. Oh-sung saw Chan-mi going to the restroom and intended to greet her, but Chan-mi was in such a hurry that she didn't notice Oh-sung's presence. After meeting Jae-bom, who was celebrating Chan-mi's birthday with Soo-hoon and the others, Oh-sung chose to wait outside because he didn't want to make them uncomfortable with his presence. But before Oh-sung leaves the room, his cell phone suddenly rings and Soo-hoon, who's standing near Oh-sung, recognizes the phone's ringtone as the exact same ringtone that Chan-mi accidentally recorded when someone called her using Won-sook's cell phone number. Later that night, Soo-hoon immediately tells this to Chan-mi, who is furious and thinks that Oh-sung is the one who killed Won-sook. Chan-mi intends to confront Oh-sung right away, but Soo-hoon stops her, saying that they don't have enough clues to prove Oh-sung is Won-sook's murderer. In addition, Soo-hoon asks Chan-mi not to investigate alone, as from now on he'll help her uncover the truth behind Won-sook's death and find the killer. Elsewhere, Oh-sung tries to persuade Jae-bom to return home, but Jae-bom refuses, revealing that he's often delusional, to the point where he thinks he's completely crazy when he's at home. Oh-sung tries to calm Jae-bom down by saying that Jae-bom's delusions are probably just a recovery process after Jae-bom starts to remember everything. But Jae-bom thinks that Oh-sung, who knows everything about him, might be manipulating him like Oh-sung did when he manipulated Won-sook. Jae-bom alleges that Oh-sung deliberately gave Jae-bom pictures of him with Won-sook to make Jae-bom think that he and Won-sook were lovers, and Oh-sung used the pictures to pressure Jae-bom to do his bidding. Jae-bom then asks Oh-sung if he'll also be killed like Won-sook if he tries to oppose Oh-sung. Upon hearing that, Oh-sung becomes furious and immediately beats up Jae-bom. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon wonders if Chan-mi will give the information about the recorded phone calls to the police so they can interrogate Oh-sung. Chan-mi tells him that she's not going to involve the police this time, because she's fed up with the police for being so slow in handling her twin brother's murder case. Moreover, Oh-sung is the son of the chief of Yongtan Police Station, and Chan-mi feels confident that his father will protect him. Soo-hoon and Chan-mi then devise a plan to steal Oh-sung's cell phone to reconfirm the ringtone. In the middle of their conversation, Soo-hoon remembers that he hasn't gotten Chan-mi a birthday present yet and asks Chan-mi what she wants. Surprisingly, Chan-mi says that she wants Soo-hoon's red shoelaces. Although Chan-mi tells Soo-hoon that she's just joking, Soo-hoon realizes that Chan-mi really wants the laces and decides to give them to Chan-mi. While washing his red shoelaces, Soo-hoon remembers the moment when he visited his mother to show her the red shoelaces. The red shoelace turned out to be Soo-hoon's mother's, and it was the most precious thing to Soo-hoon. Even so, Soo-hoon will still give the red shoelace to Chan-mi because Chan-mi is a precious person to Soo-hoon besides his mother. The next day, Soo-hoon gave the red shoelaces to Chan-mi as a birthday present, and Chan-mi looked happy and thanked Soo-hoon, then wore the red shoelaces. At the same time, the police find a scrap of paper showing the barcode at Hyok's murder scene. So-jong and Jong-guk immediately search various places to find where the barcode came from. After searching for a long time, Jong-guk managed to find information that the barcode came from a cafe that often rents out study rooms to students. After confirming that the barcode came from the cafe, Jong-guk then asked the cafe owner to check the CCTV camera footage. Because it takes a long time to check the CCTV cameras that recorded the incident a few days ago, the cafe owner then asks Jong-guk to come back in a few hours. Despite having gotten an important clue, Jong-guk keeps it a secret from So-jong by saying that he didn't get any clues. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon enlists the help of So-yeon and Ah-jong to steal Oh-sung's cell phone, since they're in the same class as Oh-sung. In the classroom, So-yeon deliberately makes a scene to fight with Oh-sung. While Oh-sung and So-yeon were fighting, Ah-jong took the opportunity to steal Oh-sung's cell phone and gave it to Soo-hoon. Soo-hoon rushed to the toilet to check Oh-sung's cell phone, but he couldn't find any clues on the phone. Oh-sung, who realized that his phone was missing, borrowed Ji-yeon's phone to track down his phone. When Oh-sung called his cell phone, Soo-hoon, who was in the toilet, suddenly became panicked, especially when Oh-sung already knew the whereabouts of his cell phone. Luckily, Soo-hoon managed to hide before being spotted by Oh-sung. After returning to class, Soo-hoon told Chan-mi that he didn't get any clues on Oh-sung's cell phone. At the same time, Oh-sung apparently found out that Soo-hoon had taken his cell phone. Later that night, Jong-guk visits Oh-sung's house to meet Wang-do. Jong-guk then tells Wang-do that the perpetrator of Hyok's murder is Oh-sung. Jong-guk explains that the scrap of paper containing the barcode found at the scene of Hyok's murder belongs to Oh-sung, and Jong-guk has also confirmed that the barcode belongs to Oh-sung after he checked the CCTV camera footage. Wang-do, who found out about it, looked shocked because he never thought that his son was a murderer. Wang-do then asked Jong-guk to keep the fact a secret from anyone and promised to solve the problem without putting Oh-sung in jail. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon, who was walking home alone, was suddenly attacked by someone from behind. Fortunately, Soo-hoon managed to avoid the attack and knock down the attacker, who was none other than Se-jin. Soo-hoon then brought Se-jin to his house and asked Chon-mi to treat Se-jin. After Chon-mi explains everything, Se-jin apologizes for accusing Soo-hoon of being a murderer and also attacking him. Se-jin then reveals that he was the one who broke the windows and made a mess of Soo-hoon's house. Se-jin argues that he committed such an anarchic act because he was upset with Soo-hoon and Chon-mi. The next day, Jung-guk tells his superior that they didn't find Oh-sung around the murder scene on the day of the incident after tracking Oh-sung's cell phone. However, Oh-sung left the cafe right before the murder and somehow, Oh-sung left his cell phone at the cafe. Upon learning that, Wang-do asks Jung-guk to keep the matter a secret while saying that he will ask Oh-sung directly. Meanwhile at school, Soo-hoon approaches Ji-hyun and asks her to teach him some subject matter since Soo-hoon was absent for a few days. Without the slightest suspicion, Ji-hyun immediately agrees to help Soo-hoon, even inviting Soo-hoon to her house to study together. At the same time, Chon-mi asks Jae-bom to help her meet Oh-sung because Chon-mi wants to talk to Oh-sung about something important. Jae-bom, who doesn't suspect anything, tells Chon-mi that he'll help her. At the police station, So-jung suddenly gets a call from the cafe owner informing her about the CCTV camera footage. When So-jung arrived at the cafe and saw the CCTV footage, she was shocked to find out that Oh-sung was the suspect in the murder case. An angry So-jung goes straight to Jung-guk and swears at him after learning that he's been keeping quiet about the fact that Oh-sung is a suspect in Hyok's murder. Elsewhere, Soon-ha's father, Mr. Min, meets So-yeon to inform her about Jung-gyeong who terrorized his daughter again. Mr. Min, who is very worried about Soon-ha, then asks So-yeon to help him punish Jung-gyeong, just like Soo-hoon did before. Although So-yeon is eager to help Soon-ha, she reluctantly refuses Mr. Min's request because she doesn't want Soo-hoon to be suspected by the police. The next day, Jae-bom, who is at a cafe with Oh-sung, then gets a call from Chon-mi who asks Jae-bom to prevent Oh-sung from returning home as much as possible. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon, who is at Ji-hyun's house to study, secretly sneaks into Oh-sung's room to find Oh-sung's old cell phone. However, while Soo-hoon is looking for the phone in the drawer, he finds a collection of Polaroid photos showing Oh-sung's time together with Jae-bom and Won-sok and some of their other friends. At the same time, Oh-sung accidentally saw Ji-hyun's post on her social media account informing that she was cooking for the boy she likes. Knowing that Soo-hoon was at his house, Oh-sung immediately rushed home. Upon arriving home, Oh-sung immediately hit Soo-hoon because he thought that Soo-hoon had sneaked into his room. Although Soo-hoon denied the accusation, Oh-sung still beat Soo-hoon, even intending to kill him. Luckily, So-jung arrives on the scene in time to stop Oh-sung. Not only that, So-jung went to Oh-sung's house because she wanted to arrest Oh-sung for Hyok's murder. So-jung then brought Oh-sung in for interrogation, but Oh-sung exercised his right to remain silent and asked So-jung to meet him with his father. Shortly afterward, So-jung is asked to come meet Wang-do, who is outside. Wang-do then apologizes to So-jung while revealing that he asked Jung-guk to keep the facts about Oh-sung a secret from anyone because Wang-do wanted to protect his son. However, So-jung, who is already too disappointed in Wang-do, then threatens to force Wang-do to resign from the police if Wang-do still insists on protecting his son. Meanwhile, Soo-hoon, who was with Chon-mi, received a call from the hospital informing him that his mother was in critical condition. At the hospital, the doctor tells Soo-hoon that his mother must use a ventilator to survive, so the medical expenses will become more expensive. Upon hearing that, Soo-hoon asks the doctor to do his best to treat his mother, even if Soo-hoon has to work harder to make more money. Chon-mi, who knew that Soo-hoon was in trouble, could only cry and apologize to Soo-hoon because she was unable to help Soo-hoon. Even so, Soo-hoon doesn't mind at all and tries to convince Chon-mi that he can solve his problems. Afterward, Soo-hoon meets So-yeon and Ah-jong to ask for a job that can make money in a short time. Ah-jong suggests that they help Mr. Min to get rid of Jung-gyeong from Soon-ha's life, but So-yeon firmly refuses because she doesn't want Soo-hoon to be further suspected by the police as a murderer. However, unbeknownst to So-yeon, Ah-jong secretly meets Mr. Min and tells him that they're willing to get rid of Jung-gyeong and asks Mr. Min to prepare the money. A few days later, Soo-hoon, who already knows Jung-gyeong's location, is seen staking out the place from a distance and starts moving when Jung-gyeong is off guard. At the same time, Oh-sung, who suspected Soo-hoon as the perpetrator of the attack on Jung-gyeong, had anticipated Soo-hoon's movements by installing several hidden cameras around the place. Due to an unexpected incident, Soo-hoon abandoned his intention to attack Jung-gyeong and chose to leave the place to think of his next plan. The next day, Soo-hoon hands over the photos he found in Oh-sung's room to Chon-mi. Seeing Oh-sung and Won-sok's suspicious closeness, they both assume that Oh-sung is the one who killed Won-sok, but they need more evidence to put Oh-sung in jail. On the other hand, Oh-sung, who finds out that Soo-hoon has stolen his photo collection, is determined to kill Soo-hoon. Oh-sung then went to his father, who asked him to explain everything. After hearing Oh-sung's explanation, Wang-do assumed that his son had been framed by someone and was determined to find the real murderer. The following day, Chon-mi meets a mechanic and asks him to help her sell her motorcycle because Chon-mi intends to help Soo-hoon. Meanwhile, before leaving for school, Oh-sung meets Jung-gyung and offers him cooperation to get rid of Soo-hoon. Jung-gyung, who had suspected Soo-hoon as the one who had harmed him, immediately accepted the offer to take revenge on Soo-hoon. Arriving at school, Oh-sung immediately confronts Soo-hoon because Soo-hoon has stolen a collection of photos that were in his drawer. Oh-sung, who thinks that Soo-hoon has set him up, reveals that Soo-hoon was at the car repair shop when the murder happened. Soo-hoon firmly says that he wasn't the one who killed Hyuk, but Oh-sung is determined to find evidence to put Soo-hoon in jail. In addition, Soo-hoon, who assumes that Oh-sung is the killer, warns Oh-sung that he will put Oh-sung in jail if Oh-sung is proven to be the killer. In the meantime, Chan-mi meets Jae-bom and shows him a photo that shows Jae-bom's closeness with Oh-sung, Won-sok and Se-jin. Chan-mi tries to ask Jae-bom about his relationship with Won-sok, but Jae-bom can't remember. On the other hand, Oh-sung, who is about to return to class, accidentally sees Chan-mi and Jae-bom sitting together and seems unhappy with their closeness. Shortly afterward, Jae-bom confronts Oh-sung about the photo showing his closeness with Oh-sung. He asks why Oh-sung previously only showed a photo of himself with Won-sok, as if only Jae-bom had a close relationship with Won-sok. However, Oh-sung refuses to answer Jae-bom's questions, saying that he'll explain everything when the time comes. While in class, Ji-hyun gets information from her classmate about Oh-sung's social media post showing Oh-sung and Ji-hyun's closeness as siblings. Ji-hyun, who saw it, suddenly felt upset and immediately confronted Oh-sung on the school roof. Ji-hyun demands that Oh-sung delete the post, but Oh-sung refuses because it's part of his plan. Elsewhere, So-jung and Jung-gook get a new lead in Hyuk's murder case while they're examining camera footage of a drone that fell on the roof of an auto repair shop. Jung-gook tells So-jung that he got the camera footage from a man named Choi who accidentally dropped his drone on the roof of the building, and the camera on the drone recorded a man coming out of the auto repair shop after the murder. After examining the camera footage, So-jung concludes that the killer has a gang because the man recorded by the drone camera took a different road route and also left the car repair shop at a different time than the other man. The next day, Jung-gyung purposely meets Soon-ha to say that he's going to report Soon-ha to the police because Soon-ha has sent someone to harm him. Later that night, Soon-ha tells her father that she wants to change schools because Jung-gyung keeps terrorizing her. But Mr. Min tells Soon-ha to be patient because he sent someone to get rid of Jung-gyung. Later that night, Oh-sung, who accidentally eavesdropped on Soon-ha and her father's conversation, went to Jung-gyung to warn him that Soo-hoon would attack him again, so they devised a plan to trap Soo-hoon. As could be expected, Soo-hoon is seen tailing Jung-gyung, who is about to head to his hideout in a taxi, while Oh-sung and Jung-gyung's men prepare some hidden cameras to record Soo-hoon's actions as he attacks Jung-gyung. In the meantime, Jae-bom is seen teaching Chan-mi to drive. Jae-bom then asks Chan-mi why she wants to learn to drive, and Chan-mi reveals that she hopes to take the person who killed Won-sok to the mountain by car, then bury him alive. Hearing Chan-mi talk about her twin brother, Jae-bom reveals that he also has a twin brother. Jae-bom adds that his twin brother passed away when he was 14 years old, and Jae-bom was devastated by his death. Therefore, Jae-bom understands Chan-mi's feelings about losing Won-sok. Later that night, after doing some reconnaissance and confirming that Jung-gyung is living alone in his hideout, Soo-hoon starts sneaking into the place. At the same time, Soo-hoon's mother finally passed away after being in critical condition for quite some time. A nurse then called Soo-hoon's cell phone number to inform him about his mother's death. But because Soo-hoon turned off his cell phone, they called the emergency contact number, which was none other than Chan-mi. Upon knowing that Soo-hoon's mother had passed away, Chan-mi rushed off to find Soo-hoon's whereabouts. Unable to find Soo-hoon anywhere, Chan-mi calls So-yeon and Jae-bom to inform them about Soo-hoon's mother's death. Concurrently, Ah-jung shows So-yeon the live streaming done by Jung-gyung on his social media account, which is part of Oh-sung's plan to frame Soo-hoon. Ah-jung then reveals to So-yeon that she met Mr. Min to take the job to help Soo-hoon earn money to pay for his mother's medical expenses. Meanwhile, Oh-sung, who knows Soo-hoon's movements through a hidden camera, then live streams, which is watched by Ji-hyun and also people who follow his social media accounts. Not long after, the people watching the live streaming saw someone who broke into Jung-gyung's hiding place and attacked him. At first, Jung-gyung seemed to have trouble dealing with the person, until Oh-sung arrived to help him. When Oh-sung removes the attacker's mask and hat, they're shocked to find out that the person who had attacked Jung-gyung wasn't Soo-hoon, but Jae-bom, who then grins at Oh-sung because his plan has failed. The scene then switches to show the events of 20 minutes ago, where Chan-mi managed to get information about Jung-gyung's hideout from Soon-ha. Chan-mi and Jae-bom managed to find Soo-hoon right before Soo-hoon attacks Jung-gyung. Chan-mi immediately called Soo-hoon and informed him about his mother's death. As Chan-mi and Soo-hoon rush to the hospital, Jae-bom decides to replace Soo-hoon and breaks into Jung-gyung's hideout. In the present, Oh-sung is furious that his plan has failed, especially since Jae-bom has found out about his plan to frame Soo-hoon. Just as Oh-sung is about to leave, So-jung and the police suddenly surround the place and take Oh-sung and Jun-gyung away to the police station to explain everything. The following day, Chan-mi and the others are seen attending Soo-hoon's mother's funeral, while Jae-bom is at the police station because So-jung is interrogating him regarding the incident that happened last night at Jun-gyung's hideout. Jae-bom replies innocently that he just wanted to become famous after learning that Oh-sung was live streaming. Although it sounds absurd, So-jung seems to believe Jae-bom's statement. On the other side, Jung-guk starts to lose patience as Jun-gyung continues to evade answering his questions. Jung-guk then reveals that he already knows about Jun-gyung deliberately terrorizing Soon-ha to lure the attacker and intends to frame him with Oh-sung's help. With a smirk on his face, Jung-guk then tells Jun-gyung that all this time Jun-gyung doesn't seem to realize that he's been manipulated by Oh-sung. After that, So-jung and Jung-guk interrogate Oh-sung, who continues to deny all the accusations directed at him. Even so, the two cops are convinced that Oh-sung was involved in Won-sok and Hyok's murder and deliberately made a scene by live streaming as a diversion. Oh-sung, who insists that he's not the killer, then accuses Soo-hoon of being the killer in front of the police officers interrogating him. In the meantime, after placing Soo-hoon's mother's ashes in the columbarium, Soo-hoon tells Jae-bom and the others that Won-sok's ashes are also there and they go there to pray for Won-sok. Shortly afterward, Chan-mi and Soo-hoon reveal to Jae-bom and the others that they suspect Oh-sung as the one who killed Won-sok after getting some important clues that point to Oh-sung. However, they can't confirm it yet and still have to do further investigation before reporting Oh-sung to the police. The following day, Oh-sung confronts Jae-bom and asks about the reason why Jae-bom switched positions with Soo-hoon at Jun-gyung's hideout. When Jae-bom tells him that he didn't want Soo-hoon to get caught by Oh-sung, Oh-sung looks furious because he thinks that Jae-bom has betrayed him. Jae-bom then replies that Oh-sung has been manipulating him, but Oh-sung immediately refutes that by saying that Jae-bom should be looking for clues about the incident that caused him to attempt to end his life, instead of involving himself in his problems with Soo-hoon. Meanwhile, Chan-mi tries to cheer Soo-hoon up by taking him for a walk. While they're having dinner, Chan-mi brings up the possibility that Won-sok was dating one of the young men in the photo Soo-hoon found in Oh-sung's room, making her even more convinced that the person who killed Won-sok was Oh-sung. At the same time, Oh-sung, who was at his home, was seen being scolded by his father because Oh-sung's actions had embarrassed Wang-do, who was the chief of Yongtan police station. As a punishment, Wang-do then asked Oh-sung to hand over his cell phone and prohibited Oh-sung from traveling anywhere other than home and school. On the other hand, Jae-bom, who has just finished taking a shower, finds some irregularities in his room and realizes that he often performs actions unexpectedly and he can't remember them at all. A frustrated Jae-bom then meets Oh-sung in the school auditorium and forces him to explain everything. Oh-sung then tells him that Jae-bom didn't actually attempt to end his life by jumping off the top of the building, but he was pushed by someone and the person who pushed him was none other than Won-sok. Chan-mi, who happens to be in the auditorium and is secretly recording their conversation, looks shocked to learn that her twin brother tried to kill Jae-bom. While heading back to class, Oh-sung accidentally runs into Soo-hoon and the two immediately get into an argument. But in the middle of the fight, Soo-hoon suddenly felt pain in his head and collapsed unconscious. Meanwhile, Chan-mi, who was brooding over Jae-bom and Oh-sung's conversation, is surprised by the arrival of an ambulance to the school, which turns out to have come to pick up Soo-hoon. Chan-mi rushes over to the medics who are about to take Soo-hoon and asks them to take Soo-hoon to Wusung University Hospital because Soo-hoon has a brain tumor and is undergoing treatment at the hospital. In the meantime, Jae-bom is still thinking about how he never attempted to end his life and had a fatal accident because Won-sok pushed him off the roof. Jae-bom, who still can't believe Oh-sung's words, goes to Oh-sung and asks why Oh-sung didn't report Won-sok to the police for his actions. Oh-sung argues that Won-sok knew his weakness and threatened him, so Oh-sung was forced to keep that fact a secret from everyone. Therefore, Oh-sung asks Jae-bom to stay away from Won-sok's twin sister because Chan-mi might hurt him, just like Won-sok did. At the hospital, Soo-hoon finally regains consciousness and recovers quickly after receiving treatment from In-seon, who tells Soo-hoon that it was Chan-mi who had directed the medics to bring Soo-hoon to Wusung University Hospital because Chan-mi had known that Soo-hoon had a brain tumor. Soo-hoon then tries to call Chan-mi, but she turns off her cell phone. When checking the message box on his cell phone, Soo-hoon found a video message sent by Chan-mi some time ago, in which Chan-mi told Soo-hoon that she had learned the truth behind her twin brother's death. On the other hand, Chan-mi also sent a video message to Jae-bom, where she apologized on behalf of her twin brother because Won-sok had tried to kill Jae-bom. Soo-hoon, who got the message, immediately rushed home and found that Chan-mi had left with all her belongings and left a message for Soo-hoon along with the red shoelace that Soo-hoon had given Chan-mi. Upon knowing that Chan-mi suspects Oh-sung as the one who killed Won-sok, Soo-hoon heads to Oh-sung's house, hoping to find Chan-mi. Upon arriving in front of Oh-sung's house, Soo-hoon sees Jun-gyung coming to meet Oh-sung. Soo-hoon then secretly follows Jun-gyung, who takes Oh-sung to his hideout, where they hatch a plan to kill Soo-hoon. However, unbeknownst to them, Soo-hoon, who was secretly following them, overheard the conversation, so Soo-hoon immediately attacked Jung-gyeong and Oh-sung before they could carry out their plan. When Soo-hoon was about to hit Jung-gyeong with a barbell, Jae-bom suddenly appeared and immediately stopped him. Soo-hoon, who already knows about Won-sok's assassination attempt, asks Jae-bom if he was in trouble with Won-sok before that Won-sok tried to kill him. Unfortunately, Jae-bom still doesn't remember the incident, so he can't explain in detail. In the middle of their conversation, Soo-hoon suddenly gets a phone call from Chon-mi asking him to come meet her somewhere. Soo-hoon and Jae-bom then meet Chon-mi, who tells them that Oh-sung has lied. Chon-mi explains that on the day of Jae-bom's accident, Won-sok was in Busan to see Chon-mi, making it impossible for Won-sok to try to murder Jae-bom in Seoul. Soo-hoon and Jae-bom are shocked to learn this fact, especially Jae-bom, who is convinced that Oh-sung has manipulated him. Later that night, while Soo-hoon is waiting for Chon-mi to buy something at a convenience store, Jung-gyeong and his men suddenly appear and immediately kidnap Soo-hoon. Chon-mi, who had just come out of the convenience store, rushed to save Soo-hoon, but Jung-gyeong immediately pushed her away, saying that he would kill Soo-hoon if Chon-mi reported them to the police. A panicked Chon-mi turns to Jae-bom for help, who asks Chon-mi to stay calm and obey Jung-gyeong's words, while he searches for information on Jung-gyeong and Soo-hoon's whereabouts. Jung-gyeong and his men take Soo-hoon to a room and tie him to a chair, just like Soo-hoon did to Jung-gyeong. After beating Soo-hoon, Jung-gyeong tells Soo-hoon that Oh-sung will come to kill Soo-hoon. Meanwhile, Jae-bom dreams that the person who pushed him off the roof is Oh-sung. Even though it's just a dream, Jae-bom feels confident that it's a piece of his memory that has returned. The next day, when Oh-sung is about to go somewhere, he is approached by two men who are Jae-bom's men, who deliberately slip a tracking device into Oh-sung's bag. Meanwhile, Chon-mi meets So-jung at the police station to provide information about Won-sok's death case. At the same time, Jung-guk arrives and tells So-jung about the latest clue about the murderer in the car repair shop, who turned out to be a lefty. Upon hearing that, Chon-mi is relieved that Soo-hoon has finally been cleared of being the murderer. After Chon-mi provides information about someone calling her using Won-sok's cell phone number, So-jung tells her that they'll contact the cellular operator to check the call data. Shortly after, Oh-sung finally arrives at the place where Jung-gyeong has Soo-hoon, and wastes no time in venting his anger at Soo-hoon by beating him to a pulp. Just as Oh-sung is about to cut off Soo-hoon's finger, Jae-bom's men suddenly appear and immediately beat Jung-gyeong and his men. Shortly afterward, Jae-bom arrives at the scene and immediately hits Oh-sung for lying to him. After saving Soo-hoon, Jae-bom is asked to sign a letter because his family's company will take care of the payment of the thugs hired by Jae-bom to take down Jung-gyeong and his men. Unusually, Jae-bom signs the letter using his left hand, even writing his name as Sok Jae-jun. When one of his men tells Jae-bom that he made a mistake when writing his name, Jae-bom suddenly realizes and corrects it immediately, while Soo-hoon, who sees it, then feels something is wrong with Jae-bom. Meanwhile, So-jung and Jung-guk, who are examining the phone call recordings from Won-sok's cell phone, find clues about the location where the man made the phone call to contact Chon-mi. Although the location is a park that Oh-sung always goes to play basketball, So-jung concludes that Oh-sung is not the one who killed Hyuk, because the perpetrator strangled Hyuk with his left hand, while Oh-sung is not left-handed. A few days later, So-yeon tells Chon-mi that she's going to change schools so that Soo-hoon won't be made a suspect in Jung-gyeong's assault case, because the police managed to get CCTV camera footage showing So-yeon meeting Mr. Min a while ago. So-yeon tells Chon-mi that she intends to dye her hair color and move to the countryside. Before leaving, So-yeon asked Chon-mi to always take care of Soo-hoon, and the two of them hugged. At the same time, Oh-sung meets his father at the police station and says that it all started because of Ji-hyun, while revealing that he has romantic feelings for Ji-hyun, who is none other than his stepsister. Meanwhile, Jae-bom asks Ji-hyun to meet him and manages to persuade Ji-hyun to go with him. Jae-bom then takes Ji-hyun to a place where they will wait for Oh-sung's arrival. When Ji-hyun is about to leave because she doesn't want to deal with Oh-sung, Jae-bom then reveals that he knows about Ji-hyun and Oh-sung kissing and tells Ji-hyun to stay. Shortly afterward, Oh-sung finally arrives at the place and then tells Jae-bom to let Ji-hyun go. But Jae-bom refuses to let Ji-hyun go because he intends to force Oh-sung to reveal everything in front of Ji-hyun. Jae-bom then reveals that he remembers Oh-sung pushing him off the roof, but Oh-sung denies that he pushed Jae-bom, although he admits that they did have an argument before Jae-bom fell off the roof. Jae-bom then confirms to Oh-sung that the reason they argued was because Jae-bom told Oh-sung to stop bullying Won-sok. On the other hand, Ji-hyun finds out that Oh-sung has been mentally intimidating Won-sok. Not only that, Oh-sung always told Won-sok to bully other students who made trouble with Oh-sung, like So-mi. When Jae-bom asks Oh-sung to stop bullying Won-sok, Oh-sung becomes so angry that he intends to kill Jae-bom. However, Oh-sung denies all the accusations, so Jae-bom finally reveals that he found a videotape of Oh-sung and Ji-hyun kissing and threatens to spread it if Oh-sung still refuses to confess. Ji-hyun, who's annoyed that Oh-sung dragged her into his problems with Jae-bom, slaps Oh-sung's face and rushes away. After Ji-hyun leaves, surprisingly, Oh-sung finally admits to pushing Jae-bom off the roof. Oh-sung deliberately took advantage of Jae-bom's memory loss to plant the thought in Jae-bom that the person who pushed him off the roof was Won-suk. Receiving intimidation from Jae-bom, Oh-sung then tries to retaliate by saying whether Jae-bom became so angry at Won-suk because of this that he pushed him from the window. On the other hand, Soo-hoon tells Chon-mi about Jae-bom's irregularities when Jae-bom writes with his left hand and misspells his own name as Sok Jae-jun. Upon hearing that, Chon-mi remembers when Jae-bom told her that he has a twin brother. While they're having dinner, Chon-mi tells Soo-hoon that Hyok's murderer is a lefty. Soo-hoon, who thinks Won-suk's murderer is the same person, asks Chon-mi to investigate the possibility by checking Se-jin's video footage of the day Won-suk died. But after they watch the video for a while, they can't confirm whether the killer pushed Won-suk with his left foot or right foot. The next day, Soo-hoon treats Jae-bom to lunch in return for Jae-bom saving him. When Soo-hoon leaves the table, Jae-bom secretly steals his cell phone and goes to the toilet to turn it off. Soo-hoon actually saw Jae-bom taking his cell phone from the table, but he pretended to look for his lost cell phone. Shortly afterward, Soo-hoon told Chon-mi about it, who accompanied Soo-hoon to buy a new cell phone. They then devise a plan to buy the exact same cell phone as Won-suk's. In the afternoon, when Soo-hoon visits Jae-bom at his house, Jae-bom gets a picture message from an unknown number saying that they've found Won-suk's cell phone that Jae-bom has been hiding because Jae-bom is the one who killed Won-suk. The message turns out to be deliberately sent by Chon-mi, while Soo-hoon observes Jae-bom's reaction when he gets the message. Jae-bom immediately panics when someone else finds Won-suk's cell phone that he's been hiding, so he rushes off to see if it's really been taken by someone else or if it's still there. Jae-bom finally arrives at the stables, where he's been hiding Won-suk's cell phone. Surprisingly, Won-suk's phone is still there, so Jae-bom realizes that the person who sent the message is trying to bully him. At the same time, Soo-hoon suddenly appears behind Jae-bom and asks Jae-bom to hand over Won-suk's cell phone. Soo-hoon is apparently tailing Jae-bom to see if Jae-bom is the one who killed Won-suk. Surprisingly, Oh-sung suddenly appears behind Soo-hoon and directly hits his head until Soo-hoon collapses unconscious. Jae-bom then asked Oh-sung why he was there, and Oh-sung replied that he knew about Jae-bom getting the picture message and concluded that Chon-mi sent the message, because Chon-mi and Soo-hoon intended to frame Jae-bom so that Jae-bom would reveal the crime he had committed. But unexpectedly, Oh-sung finds his old cell phone, which was stolen by Jae-bom. Oh-sung asked Jae-bom why he stole his cell phone, and Jae-bom reasoned that he had to know what Oh-sung was planning before he could decide on his next move. Upon learning that, Oh-sung becomes angry at Jae-bom, because Jae-bom has always suspected him while Oh-sung has always protected him, even helping Jae-bom hide the murder he had committed. An enraged Jae-bom then asks why Oh-sung thinks he was the one who killed Won-suk and Hyok. Oh-sung also reveals that he already knows about Jae-bom's dissociative identity disorder, which causes Jae-bom to have two personalities in one body. Taking advantage of Jae-bom's amnesia, Oh-sung deliberately covers up his act of pushing Jae-bom off the roof by planting a false memory in Jae-bom that the person who pushed Jae-bom was Won-suk. The incident causes another evil and cruel personality in Jae-bom's body to emerge, where his alter ego then murders Won-suk for revenge. When Jae-bom and Oh-sung got into a fierce fight, Soo-hoon slowly started to wake up from his stupor and saw Jae-bom, who was fighting with someone. Not long after, Soo-hoon finally regains consciousness, but he doesn't find anyone in the place. Upon arriving home, Soo-hoon immediately tells everything to Chon-mi, who seems shocked to learn that the person who killed Won-suk was none other than Jae-bom. In addition, Soo-hoon also tells Chon-mi about the person who hit him in the head from behind, which is probably Jae-bom's accomplice. The next day, Jae-bom's car is found by the river and Jae-bom is declared missing. At the same time, Chon-mi and Soo-hoon meet So-jung and tell her that Soo-hoon followed Jae-bom to the stables and found Jae-bom hiding Won-suk's cell phone. In addition, Soo-hoon also informs her about Jae-bom's accomplice who hit his head and knocked him unconscious. Although the clues aren't enough to put Jae-bom in jail, So-jung assures Chon-mi and Soo-hoon that the police will investigate further to get more evidence. Shortly afterward, Chon-mi tells Soo-hoon that she had no idea that Jae-bom was the one who killed Won-suk, especially since Jae-bom has always been so nice to her. Chon-mi wonders about why Jae-bom killed Won-suk, and Soo-hoon replies that there's no comprehensible reason to kill someone, so he suggests Chon-mi not to ask Jae-bom about it because Jae-bom's answer might only hurt Chon-mi. Meanwhile, So-jung and Jung-guk finally get a hint that the person who had called Chon-mi using Won-suk's cell phone number was Jae-bom, and the possibility of Jae-bom working with Oh-sung to kill Won-suk. Chon-mi, who's already at home, then unpacks Won-suk's belongings and intends to kill Jae-bom with her twin brother's firearm. Afterwards, Chon-mi goes to Oh-sung to apologize for suspecting Oh-sung as the murderer. However, Oh-sung refuses to forgive Chon-mi because Chon-mi has caused a lot of trouble in his life. Chan-mi then mentions about Oh-sung attacking Soo-hoon from behind when they were at the stables, and Oh-sung confirms it. Chan-mi then asks if Jae-bom worked with Oh-sung to kill Won-sook, but Oh-sung denies that he was Jae-bom's accomplice. Surprisingly, Chan-mi secretly recorded their conversation and sent the recording to So-jung. Upon knowing that, Oh-sung becomes furious and threatens to kill Chan-mi. In the meantime, Soo-hoon meets Ji-hyun and asks her to slip a tracking device into Oh-sung's bag. While Oh-sung is finally interrogated by So-jung, as the police have obtained evidence showing that Oh-sung and Jae-bom were in the same place when Jae-bom contacted Chan-mi using Won-sook's cell phone, which proves that Oh-sung is Jae-bom's accomplice, although Oh-sung denies the accusation. Elsewhere, Jae-bom, who is hiding on a ship docked at the harbor, seems frustrated that he decides to throw away his cell phone. The following day, when Ji-hyun is about to put the tracking device into Oh-sung's bag, her stepbrother suddenly appears and asks why Ji-hyun entered his room without permission. Ji-hyun argued that she just wanted to look for her photos that Oh-sung had secretly taken, and not finding the photos, Ji-hyun quickly left Oh-sung's room. Meanwhile, So-yeon, who has moved to another city and works as a clerk at a convenience store, gets a video call from Ah-jung and Chan-mi saying that they miss So-yeon very much. Not only that, Ah-jung and Chan-mi also tell her about Jae-bom, who is suspected of Won-sook's murder, and now Jae-bom has disappeared. Upon hearing that, So-yeon is shocked, as she didn't expect Jae-bom to be the murderer since Jae-bom was close friends with Won-sook. While eating lunch outside, So-yeon accidentally sees Jae-bom at the harbor, so she rushes to tell her friends about Jae-bom's whereabouts. Shortly afterward, Se-jin, who has just returned from the United States, meets Chan-mi, who tells him that the person who killed Won-sook was Jae-bom. Se-jin seems surprised to hear that because Jae-bom has always been kind to Won-sook, and they're even close friends. Se-jin then reveals that he and Won-sook were actually lovers. One day, Oh-sung caught them kissing and took a picture of it, then used the photo to threaten Won-sook to do everything he asked. Se-jin reveals that Oh-sung always tells Won-sook to do all the dirty work for him, while Jae-bom tries to protect Won-sook from Oh-sung's influence. When he finds out about Oh-sung kissing Ji-hyun, Jae-bom seizes the opportunity to fight Oh-sung. At the same time, So-jung and Jung-guk finally get evidence that the perpetrator of Hyok's murder is none other than Jae-bom. The next day, Jae-bom is surprised by the appearance of Chan-mi, who points a gun at him and asks why Jae-bom killed Won-sook. Jae-bom then recounts the incident when he kicked Won-sook, who was sitting by the window. Won-sook, who's good friends with Jae-bom, doesn't suspect Jae-bom of suddenly coming up to him. But at that moment, Jae-bom looks annoyed at Won-sook and says that he will avenge everything Won-sook has done to him. Upon hearing that, Won-sook becomes confused, and before he can ask Jae-bom for an explanation, Jae-bom kicks Won-sook out the window and dies. After recounting the whole incident to Chan-mi, Jae-bom admits that he has no memory of killing Won-sook. Jae-bom also confesses that there was another person inside him and that it was that person who killed Won-sook. In addition, Jae-bom also doesn't remember when he called Chan-mi using Won-sook's cell phone. After explaining everything to Chan-mi, Jae-bom suddenly felt a pain in his head and became nauseous, and all of a sudden, Jae-bom got up and attacked Chan-mi as if someone else had taken over his body. In the end, Chan-mi finally finds out that the one in Jae-bom's body right now is Jae-jun, or the alter ego that Jae-bom unconsciously created. Chan-mi then asked why Jae-jun possessed Jae-bom's body and committed all the murders, but Jae-jun dodged the question. Chan-mi, convinced that Jae-bom is a good person, asks Jae-jun to release Jae-bom. However, Jae-jun refuses and says that he and Jae-bom are the same person. Jae-jun then tells Oh-sung about suddenly entering his room when he found out that Jae-bom took Soo-hoon to watch the basketball game. Oh-sung didn't like Jae-bom and Soo-hoon's closeness, because in fact, Oh-sung liked Jae-bom and his kiss with Ji-hyun was a diversion so that he wouldn't be suspected of being gay. When Oh-sung leaves Jae-bom's room, he accidentally drops the scrap of paper containing the barcode, and Jae-bom picks it up and keeps it. When he was about to pick up Soo-hoon, Jae-bom accidentally saw Soo-hoon leaving and followed him to the car repair shop. When he enters the garage, Jae-bom sees Hyok tied up and tries to help him. But Hyok instead accused Jae-bom of being the one who had attacked him, so Jae-jun then took over Jae-bom's body and strangled Hyok to death. At the same time, Oh-sung's scrap of barcode paper accidentally falls in the car repair shop, so the police suspect Oh-sung as the murderer. Upon learning that, Chan-mi still believes that Jae-bom is a good person and asks Jae-jun to leave Jae-bom's body. Shortly afterward, Jae-jun finally does leave Jae-bom's body, and Jae-bom, who regains all his memories, tries to end his life. However, Chan-mi quickly stops Jae-bom and he turns himself into the police. After arresting Jae-bom, So-jung apologizes to Chan-mi for not helping Chan-mi enough to uncover the truth behind Won-sook's death. The next day, Soo-hoon gets a text message from Ji-hyun asking him to come to the school roof because she wants to discuss Oh-sung. But unexpectedly, Ji-hyun turns out to be told by Oh-sung to do that because he's annoyed at Soo-hoon for telling Ji-hyun to slip a tracking device into his bag. Oh-sung then threatens Ji-yeon with a cutter and orders Soo-hoon to kneel down and apologize if Soo-hoon doesn't want Oh-sung to hurt Ji-yeon. Without thinking, Soo-hoon immediately kneels down and apologizes because he doesn't want Ji-yeon to get hurt. But unexpectedly, Oh-sung hits Soo-hoon and beat him up. But Soo-hoon immediately fights back, so they get into a fierce fight on the school roof. Soo-hoon, who was trying to defend himself, accidentally pushed Oh-sung until he fell off the school roof and died instantly. The students who saw the incident immediately knew that Soo-hoon was the one who had pushed Oh-sung off the school roof. Soon-ha, who also found out, sent a text message to her schoolmates that Soo-hoon was the hero who had punished Jung-gyeong for defending her, so she asked them to protect Soo-hoon from being arrested by the police. The students assumed that Soo-hoon might have punished Oh-sung that way. They even find out that Won-seok did all those evil deeds because he was threatened by Oh-sung. Soon after, So-jong and Jong-guk arrive at the school to investigate Oh-sung's death. However, when the two cops question the students about the incident, the students choose to protect Soo-hoon by saying that there was no one else on the roof but Oh-sung and Ji-yeon. Even Ji-yeon also told the policemen that no one else was on the roof besides her and Oh-sung. Sometime later, the third-year students celebrated their graduation by taking a group photo, as well as So-yeon, who returned to school. Soo-hoon, who did not participate in the photo session, just smiled happily seeing his schoolmates who could celebrate their graduation happily. The drama ended with So-yeon and her schoolmates saying goodbye to Soo-hoon, who chose to leave school, while Chon-mi was successfully accepted into the military and will serve in the Marine Corps. Chon-mi and Soo-hoon then walked out of the school hand in hand. The moral message we can learn from this drama is to never manipulate and take advantage of others for our own benefit, because in the end we will get karma from all the bad deeds we do.